so much more fun when you're not even here, and then you're going by the phone, so you don't really have I can mute you much easier when you're not here. So it's episode 28 of Almost in Agreement. It is the reintroduction of AC. He is a real person. We talk about him all the time, and you actually get to hear his voice for the first time in a month or so. I don't know, we had a busy week locally. We had some Board of Health bullshit. Glenn Jacobs is pissed off again. Mayor Kane's about to put some smackdown. We had a couple interviews this week, got a couple interviews next week. We're almost in agreement @gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and most podcast providers. So, all right, so AC is back, everybody, like a real person. He exists, not a figment of my imagination or our collective imaginations as a group. Or not. He's not here. I was just kidding.
No. That motherfucker's here.
Is he?
It's good to be back, actually.
Yeah, I forgot how to work a microphone, but that's okay.
Who, you did or I did?
You did.
No, it's right here, man. I don't know. You want me to deep throat it? Is that how I got?
Yeah, get up on that bitch.
You gotta get on it.
Hit the fucking wrong button.
Spit on it.
Yeah, there it is.
Turn my headphones up.
All right, now we got him. So AC's back from a trip to Portland to quell the riots and come back with an expensive vehicle and call it a day.
That's true.
I was pissed about that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That really is totally my fault. God damn it.
So for you that don't know, he was like, "Hey, you want to take a road trip?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm down." And he's like, "It's sometime in the next 2 weeks." And I was like, "Okay, let me know." And then like 3 days later, I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm driving back from Portland."
Yeah, I got my weekends fucked up because I assumed that it was going to be I thought it was the weekend that I went was the weekend that you couldn't do it.
No.
And I'm like, God damn.
Right, the weekend you couldn't do it is because you had something else going on too. The weekend that you thought he said no to was the weekend that you had plans as well that was not going to Portland.
And I was told that I could not take any sort of.
That's right.
That's right.
I claimed ownership of you and your wife for the day.
Right.
And then she was all confused when I was like, "I own you for the day," and she was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "You need to talk to your husband more often because I claimed full ownership and I told him to tell you." So
I will say this much: if anybody ever has the opportunity to go from Portland all the way east, it's a good drive. Amazing.
I drove that shit. I don't know how many years ago. I moved from Oregon, and I went from Eugene, Oregon to went through Colorado, then went down through Texas, and then from Texas, Tennessee.
It's incredible. Like it really is. I don't know.
I would have really liked to enjoy that drive again.
God damn it! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was great. Like there were sections of the interstate that didn't have a fucking speed limit, at all. It didn't exist. And there were other parts that was 80 miles an hour. I'm like 80.
Like listed 80.
Yeah, it was listed as 80. I'm like, fuck, I can go 80. Like no. What you're telling me is I can go 90.
Exactly.
Which I'm gonna set the cruise control for it. So sounds great. It was amazing. I'll do it again.
So what route did you went down through Colorado?
I went Portland to Boise. So I worked the night before, and so I left a little bit early, left at like 5:30 a.m., and then flight left Knoxville at 7:45 a.m. So Knoxville to Atlanta flight, Atlanta to Portland flight, picked up the car because I'd signed everything. All I had to do was get the keys, and then Portland to Boise, spent the night in Boise, and then Boise to Salt Lake to Denver to Knoxville. Stopped in Kansas City and got some barbecue and picked up some beer along the way. But
so you went through there. Did you? So when you were driving through Kansas, did you stop? You didn't stop at the world's largest prairie dog. There were signs for like 400 miles.
You know what I did see a lot of signs of though going east, especially like East Denver and West Kansas. I saw a lot of semi trucks with Trump. I'm not making this. I'm really not making this up. Just in the middle of just these desolate areas, there's this picture of Trump on the side of these semi trucks that are parked in these random fields, and Trump is it's like the Trump holding the flag picture, and it's like Trump loves America, vote Trump 2020, and it's like random too. Like you haven't seen a gas station in 60 miles, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck is that? You get closer
questioning your bet from that
not at all.
From that experience.
He's not going to win. He's not going to win. I will, and we'll get into this, I'm sure. I will say that this Ginsburg thing does change some stuff.
Yeah, it does.
But
It's gonna be a shit show.
It is going to be a shit show. It is. Before I don't want to foreshadow too much. I think Mitch McConnell is about the most worthless motherfucker in the world.
I agree.
I mean, really, truly.
He's gonna play. He's gonna play the opposite of the card he played exactly 4 years ago.
That motherfucker needs to go. Like,
right.
He needs a fucking go.
But in fairness to me though, is there's gonna be a whole litany of people that were playing the opposite card in 2016 that are flipping sides right now on either side of the aisle.
Apparently, Lindsey Graham was doing the same thing. He's like, quote me if this ever happens again. He was like, you can quote me.
Right, and he won't. And
well, do you think they're going to drag it out? Like, are they going to try to decline every single person until?
Well, it's not going to matter because the Republicans hold the majority in the Senate. I will bet anybody right now in this room $100 that they're not going to have. We won't have a person in this position before the election. I would bet anybody that we will not.
So who's going to decide? You think it's going to be whoever wins the election is going to decide who?
Or you think Trump's going to get it post-election before he leaves office? Assuming Trump loses.
I think Trump will lose.
Right.
But I also think that Murkowski and Collins, so Maine and Alaska, those two are not. I don't think that they would be. Wow, we're really jumping into this, aren't we?
I mean, what else are we doing?
Okay. So I think Collins and Murkowski, Alaska and Maine, I think both of those two will not vote for whomever Trump ends up trying to get in there. So that's 2 gone. And I think you need a total of 3. So you need like a Mitt Romney or a Lindsey Graham or somebody to say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable doing this either.
Right. And Mitt's already got the
and Mitt doesn't already, yeah, sure. And even though he's a conservative, he also doesn't like Trump. So I don't see this playing out. Even if people didn't hate Trump for reasons whether it's good or not, this is a small amount of time to get this done. And like this typically takes a couple months to get somebody properly vetted, and then get this process going. So I mean,
you don't think they've thought about this? Maybe.
Who are they?
Well, Ted Cruz was talking last week with no reference to. I mean, Ginsburg wasn't dead yet. And, I mean, we all know she's been sick or whatever, but like it wasn't. There was no inference that it was going to be yesterday, last week, and Ted Cruz was talking about Trump needs to go ahead and have people lined up and ready. Maybe not specifically not specifically to replace her, but to be ready for if an opening comes up, he needs to have somebody ready.
Yeah, I mean,
and starting the process.
Had a short list.
So she's been sick, but like, has she still been serving?
Yeah.
So
on have they still been seeing cases? Like,
do we need to call Laura Jamie in? Because
call him in.
So like, you know, this didn't take very long either. It's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah.
So really, at the end of the day, she was still listening to cases, so to speak. But I mean, she's got a staff really that is deciding a lot of this stuff before she even has access to the stuff on a desk.
So you're saying is that the Supreme Court justices don't do anything; they just listen to their cabinet.
Well, they don't have a cabinet, but I understand what you're saying.
They're people.
Well, I think it's helpful for any person in any position of power to have people around them that gives them a proper filter of information. You know, like I wouldn't want somebody in office that is unequivocally just them making decisions without having a staff around them that is maybe smarter than they are to try to filter out some of the white noise bullshit. Like, you know, I think that's important.
I mean, yeah, and you can have somebody actually going and pulling up pertinent case law and history and stuff like that and compiling data to go along with it, not necessarily making the decision for them.
And typically folks that have interest in getting into like appellate judge or federal judge, that sort of thing, they serve in those roles anyway.
Yeah, people talk about being clerks all the time. They clerk for whoever.
It's the same sort of gig. Is that like if you're really truly interested in doing that as a part of your career path, then you're going to be more than willing to play that role under that guise. So.
That's interesting. So there's lawyers that are clerks that are. I mean, when you say a clerk, you don't think of.
It's not a Walmart greeter.
No, but like if you're like, oh, what do you do? I'm a clerk.
That's a big deal. Like if you can get on their staff, it's a big fucking deal.
I mean, but like, I'm just saying in general for the novice person.
Yeah.
You know, when you say clerk, you don't think of like an important position.
Right, but it's realistically like it's the assistant. It's an assistant to a judge.
It's a big
but
deal.
It's the judge's. It's the courtroom version of an assistant or like a head secretary kind of deal.
Yeah. Or actually, I wouldn't even use the word secretary. It's more like
secretary in the sense of like Secretary of State, secretary, like that kind of secretary, not like.
That's the only secretary that you hear that you're like, oh, they're not a secretary. Like, I'm a secretary down at
Secretary of Defense.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Treasury.
Yeah.
So I said Secretary of State.
There's a few, but like if you just say secretary, it doesn't mean anything. But if you put a few words beyond secretary,
that's true.
it means something.
Right. Just secretary means you're answering phone calls and
Exactly.
taking messages and. Right.
So really, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, so like if you want to do, like the sort of conspiracy theory bullshit, you could say that we don't have any. I mean, she's had cancer for a while. God, I hate to even throw this out there in the waves.
I think she died of COVID.
Okay, she could have. It's not out of the realm of possibility that in a similar situation that people are saying, listen, we can medically keep somebody alive for as long as we want to. But if we get to X point,
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Whatever X point is, we have run out of time to make this work.
Right.
For the alternative party. Now, listen, I'm not trying to say that
you heard it here first, folks. This is real.
She is. She was amazing. But whether or not you believe in her or agree with her politics or not, she was incredible at what she did.
Right.
And that, we can't take that. Even the Ted Cruz of the world can't take that away from her. And so, you don't want that replaced by some bozo that comes in there and, doesn't really appreciate what's going on.
And she made. I believe it was her that said a few years ago that she made a mistake by not retiring when Obama was in.
Right, but in fairness, nobody really thought, especially when some of the primaries are going on, like nobody really thought Trump was going to win.
True.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, nobody really knew. Nobody really truly believed. Like on paper, if this is a dude, and the last name's not Clinton, on paper, it's probably the most qualified person that's ever run for office.
We've had this conversation.
Right.
And you're right.
What?
I mean, I guess on paper, because, we've had the conversation in the sense of, like, what is the resume? Like, we've made the
right.
We've done the hypothetical of, right. Like, let's make a perfect resume for president and see if we can find somebody to fill the gap. Your opinion is that Hillary Clinton filled that gap, except the name on the resume was so disgusting to so many people.
And in fairness to Trump, I mean, he's great at rhetoric. He's great at it. And so, if you don't paint the picture of I'm the lesser of two evils or, I'm bad but she's worse, if you don't have that as an argument, I mean, he probably doesn't win either. So if her name is Jim Smith,
right,
and you've been a U.S. senator in New York and you were the Secretary of State, I mean, what else do you want him? What else do you want this candidate to be? Like, do you want him to serve in the military? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Well, sure. I don't disagree with that, but neither did Trump. You know what I mean?
Agree.
You know what I mean? So like, I just again sort of diverting from the.
It's funny though. Like if you look at prior to, Clinton, Obama, Trump, like a lot of presidents served in the military, and that's kind of gone away.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we'll have another president that served in the military.
Did you vote for McCain?
I did vote for McCain.
Yeah, I did too.
Who was the last sitting president that was ever active military?
George Bush.
Senior?
Junior.
Wasn't he Coast Guard?
He was in the Coast Guard. I mean, if you want to count
that is military.
Okay.
Like it's one of the branches of the military.
I mean, it depends on the conversation if you'll actually agree with that statement later.
There is Congressional Medal of Honor winners in the Coast Guard.
Okay.
Actually, the Coast Guard, a lot of people don't look as the Coast Guard being military, and obviously I'm not Coast Guard, but they do more active operations than any of the military.
Well, and his dad was in the military too, for that matter. So even if it wasn't even if you don't, for whatever reason, buy into the Coast Guard as a legitimate, Army,
that's why I was
Navy,
clarifying
Air Force,
which Bush, but
are we sure it was the Coast Guard?
Yeah,
it was like Air National Guard.
It might have been Air National Guard. It was not like the. I think you're right. I think it was.
Oh, AC. While you've been gone, Sam has established
about him getting kicked out or something.
That Wiki is not a viable source. You're not allowed to use Wiki as a source anymore.
Shocked.
That's bullshit.
Sam said so. Wiki is a terrible source.
I'm okay with that.
I just question when it became valid.
It's never been.
Thank you.
But I think things like, was George W. Bush in the military? I think we can find. Well, I think that is. I think there's certain information that cannot be verified via Wikipedia, but I think whether or not he served,
right.
If it said he was a Navy SEAL, I think that obviously we would look at that.
Air National Guard.
Air National Guard.
Yeah.
Okay. Because Clinton wasn't.
No, definitely.
No, but Daddy was.
But Daddy was.
He was flying.
Right.
He was a Navy pilot in World War II.
Right.
Yeah.
Hell, I remember, maybe his 80th birthday or something. He jumped out of a plane for his 80th birthday.
Heard about that? Yeah.
Gangsta. That's fucking gangsta.
Pretty badass.
We should have elected him.
Yeah. The no new taxes thing killed him.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, that thing killed him for sure.
Who?
So, Daddy Bush.
Oh, Daddy Bush. I thought you were saying Clinton's daddy was.
No. So Daddy Bush is the reason why the main reason, and all of this is out there. I mean, no new taxes really is what killed him. So anyway, old age killed him.
Well, no, what I honestly say what killed him was Perot.
COVID.
Perot didn't help, but
Perot didn't
Perot
help.
took 20% of the votes that year.
I don't think it was 20. He didn't get near 10. Otherwise, he would have done your third party shit and got extra.
He was independent.
No, you're right. No, he was Green Party.
Right, he was Green Party, but he was still third party. I don't think he even got double digits.
Let's look at that.
He was just an independent party.
I thought he was Green Party, and that because then it would if he would have gotten 20%, the Green Party or whatever party he was running.
Oil. He wouldn't be Green Party. I thought his money was all in oil.
Well, this is Green Party of the 90s, not Green Party of the aughts.
Green Party's always been a pretty environmental party.
Uh-huh.
I agree. Sam is correct, by the way.
Wiki.
And I'm not looking at Wiki. I'm just saying Sam's right.
Which part?
The Green Party.
The Green Party's always been environmental.
Environmental, yes, for sure.
I always thought they were all potheads, but whatever.
Well, that may be true, but they're not mutually exclusive.
Also true. So does baseball count this year or not?
No, not at all. I'm fucking down on this hill, dude. I'm serious.
Whatever.
No, I'm fucking serious.
Baseball died to me in 97 or something like that, so I really don't give a shit.
Well, that sucks for you. But but no, really, all this is March Madness of baseball. There are no fans in the stands. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but you guys ever seen Weekend at Bernie's, the movie?
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's funny as hell because so when I'm working at a hospital, when somebody's intubated, they start moving around like that. I usually call them Weekend at Bernie's. But there was a Weekend at Bernie's cutout the other day, in a fucking seat at a baseball game. I'm like, this is this is Barnum and Bailey Circus is what this is. This isn't a fucking baseball game.
Well, that was the one. What was it? Somebody hit that line drive foul ball that
killed the teddy bear.
Killed the teddy bear. Making a big deal about it.
18.91% of the vote.
He did not. That's not true. He did not carry 18% of the vote. That is no. There's no way that no.
Maybe in Texas.
Well, here's it. Well, again,
the
popular vote.
Of the popular vote.
That's not possible.
Because the other question is how much electoral votes did he carry? Because that's
Send me your link. I'd like to see that. There's no way that's accurate.
Well, game one of the Stanley Cup Finals is on right now. Pretty sure Dallas won. It was 3-1 last time I checked it. I'm losing my bet on the Miami-Louisville NCAA game. Talking sports, I don't know. I got nothing.
We can get back to baseball if you want to. I'm happy to talk.
No, baseball's terrible. It's been terrible for years.
That's not true either.
Okay. Baseball sucks. Especially this year.
Well, you don't want me to use Wikipedia, which the first 6 were Wikipedia. Thoughtco.com was the next one. 18.9%. Let me see if I find another one.
I wasn't sure if the Weekend at Bernie's was a Biden campaign reference or not when you were bringing it up, though. I wanted to make sure.
Why would it be?
Just carrying around a dead guy. That's what the party's doing, right?
I think it's interesting.
Britannica?
I think it's
Britannica.com? Do we
I find it interesting.
That's an encyclopedia.
Sure. I find it interesting that there are folks that try to push this narrative, and yet if you take away the fake tan, has anybody have you guys looked at this before? If you take away the fake tan and the bullshit hair, Trump actually looks like he's dead.
Probably.
I find that so interesting to me that Biden and Trump are literally the same age. So and yet people are talking about Biden as the corpse. It's well, no, they're both corpses actually.
But why does me talking about one obligate the dichotomy of the other?
Because I feel like the only reason why it's brought up is because, the right-wing folks are trying to say that Biden is the one that is the corpse here. I think that's the initial narrative was pushed by the right-wing media. Right-wing media.
No, he's not dead. He's just got Alzheimer's.
It's a Z, by the way, not a T. It's Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
There you go.
So I got to sound like I'm German? Fucking don't like the Germans.
Why not?
Unless we have any listeners from Germany,
and
we love you guys.
Yes.
Where's that?
We don't have a Belgian. Our Belgian listeners gone.
Did he leave?
Electoral College, he got 18.9% of the vote.
Of the Electoral College?
Yes. Bush got 37.4%. Clinton got 43%. And my argument is, if he wouldn't have ran, nobody that was voting for Clinton was like, I'm going to vote for Ross Perot. Ross Perot took Bush votes. That's what happened.
I don't think anybody was disagreeing about whether or not he took Bush votes. But I think your initial statement was he cost him the election.
Yes, well, I mean, that's my point.
I think those are two different things, though.
So 37% plus 18.9% is more than 43%.
I appreciate your math, but I have no idea what that means.
That's assuming that every single Perot voter would have voted for Bush. Those two percentages combined would have outweighed Clinton.
A lot.
By 4 or 5%.
7%.
You had to have been turned off by your alternative, otherwise you would have voted for that guy anyway. I mean, he's got big ears. He sounds like a weasel, and he's like 5'4".
Well, this is what I'm saying. But the whole argument was the Perot was not taking any Clinton votes.
Short people can't be smart enough to run the country. Damn.
Are you saying that?
You said it.
No, I said he had big ears, short people, and sound like a weasel.
Guy in a wheelchair won the election.
Yeah, but we didn't know about it. I mean, really, we didn't know about it.
Yes,
we didn't know about it.
None of us know about it because we were not alive.
But none of the public knew about that at all. Like, nobody knew he was in a wheelchair.
That was his third term too, wasn't it?
Look at you with the smart sort of thing.
Last one to do it.
Technically, no, it wasn't his. I mean, it wasn't third term. He was in a third term, but he wasn't elected 3 times.
What? How could he be in your third term, but not?
No, that was the other Roosevelt was the one that did that, because then he tried to. Well, no, that was his second term. Sorry,
right.
He took over. Who did FDR replace?
I'm still trying to figure out how was he in his third term, but he was not elected.
Well, technically, so if Trump, I'm not advocating this. I think everybody should live. But a year ago, let's just say 1 year ago, if Trump is shot, and Pence is now the president.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right.
But who did FDR replace? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, we can look it up. But.
So technically,
Hoover didn't die
Pence could run twice because he was not elected
Correct.
twice.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right, but no, FDR didn't replace a dead or dying or retired president. He was elected.
I don't think that's
3 times.
I don't think that's true.
Maybe the election was postponed during wartime.
I don't think so.
Just comment on our page to prove who's right.
Because they changed the Constitution afterwards to add the term limit to presidents to 2 terms.
So why would they saying we're going to keep congressmen for 70 years?
You've got me with that one. I agree.
But presidents, absolutely not. We like this guy. This guy's doing a great job. Fuck it. Let's fuck up the whole entire country by having a bunch of people we don't really want to run the country.
I agree.
I mean, you don't argue with me about this one because I'm the one that doesn't like term limits at all. So
you don't like term limits at all?
We've had this conversation with you here. It
like
is our job.
I've been here in a while.
I know, but I recall specifically you were here for this one. It is our job as voters to elect better people, and if the McConnells or the Pelosi's or all these lifelong people are a problem, it's our fault for keeping voting them in.
Well, the problem is, yes, we've had this conversation a bunch, is because you think that fucking people are smart, and they're not.
That's exactly where I am. I'm serious. That's exactly where I am. Because even if people are even kind of smart, the rhetoric can convince them that something is true when it's not. So that's I completely agree with you on that.
Well, I'm going to say 70% of the people that vote have no idea what they're voting for.
So hold on, real quick.
They want to put the sticker on their chest.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
I voted,
and that's part of that.
They go down and they vote.
Absolutely, because that's part of the biggest problem is because one of the things we've talked about with candidates we've talked to in here is I can't think of a single person we've had on here that has not talked about education as a part of their platform. And as of right now, we've had one guest on the show who actually has something to do with education as part of her elected position.
Not education as school education, but education as educating the public.
No, as in Knox County schools. Conversation about Knox County schools. Virginia Babb is a school board member elected to do so for my district. She's the only person in here who has any actual contact in what the policies and function and budgeting and everything else that goes on in the school system in Knox County. She's the only one that has it. Everybody else talks about how important it is and how much they want to do for the schools in their elected position, and it doesn't exist. The only thing, there is some state level stuff budget wise. They can throw some money around. The state like the state reps and the state senate people, they can send some money back into the county, and they can change some of the way that the state divvies up money for the school system. But as far as what the school system gets to do, none of these people have any position to talk about it except for one. And we've had 20 something guests on.
What's your point?
My point is that we, the public, are stupid and don't understand what their actual job is. And so when they go around telling us how important schools are to them and how they're going to help make a difference in the schools and all this stuff, they're literally talking about nothing.
We were talking about educating the voters, and now you're talking about educating the politicians.
Sure, both. I'm talking about we as voters are uneducated in what the politician's job actually is. Like I joke.
I feel like you took over for me. Like my spirit has so far been like the beacon of your. Like I agree with that too. Like I 100% agree with what you just said. I'm sorry. Carry on. I'm sorry.
No, I mean we've talked about it on show. We've talked about it with guests and all that stuff all the other times. Is that we don't know what their job is. We don't know what they're actually supposed to be doing there.
Which is our fault.
Right, and that's part of what I'm railing on right now, is that that is our fault as the voter. But it makes it exponentially worse when they're out there on the campaign trail talking about stuff that we voters really like to hear about that has nothing to do with their job. They are selling something they can't provide.
Yes, rhetoric. And
so, right, that is my point, is that I'm not trying to educate them on what their job is supposed to be. I'm trying, that part of the show, at least to me, is to educate myself and any other voters out there that listen to the show about what their job actually is. Mm-hmm. And so when they go out and spew said rhetoric, you can actually say, hold on. And this is one of the things that I'm pitching a fit about too, is that I don't hear about this in Knox News and the News Sentinel or any of the TV channels. And Compass will touch on stuff like that a little bit, but for the most part, nobody's like, hey, time out. You're talking about this thing that has nothing to do with the position you're seeking. Like I'm railing against the voter for not knowing better, but even more than that, I'm railing against the media for not taking the time to educate themselves to say, hold on, person running for said office. You don't get to say that. Like this has anything to do with your job. Or you can say that, and then when I write the article about your public whatever, I'm going to say, yeah, she went on for 25 minutes about how much she's going to do for the school system, and here is what she can actually do for the school system by the position she is taking. And they don't equal at all.
So you're saying that that folks talk about it, but they don't have jurisdiction to do anything about it?
Like I would argue, to back up Max's point, I would argue that if, and this is not a fact, and this is not actually happening, but I would argue that, let's say, Lafferty from District 89 was running on a Build the Wall platform as part of his thing, because he is a Republican running for District 89, and he's a pro-Trump Republican from District 89. He has zero opportunity in that job to have anything to do with anything about that. But if he's playing base, people are going to pick up on that and be like, yeah, because if they're super Trump supporting District 89 voters, that's going to resonate to them, even though that's not the job. And then on top of him saying that, which is a flat rhetoric lie, which he's not actually saying, this is a hypothetical, people, that none of the media is going to correct him on it either. None of the local media corrects him on it and says, hold on, guys, he can say it all he wants, but that has nothing. He has no opportunity to have any effect on any conversation about that issue at all.
Parentheses. Even if that is said, though, let's just say only half of the people that hear the response of you don't have the jurisdiction to do that, it still means that he is reaching the other half of the folks that are not hearing that they can't do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that would all depend on where they're hearing it from. But yeah,
right, sure.
I mean, if they're hearing it through his direct Facebook feed or something like that. And again, Lafferty, I'm not picking you out personally. I just picked a random Republican out of the hat. This is fully hypothetical.
I haven't disagreed with anybody so far.
It's because we're almost in agreement.
Oh, fuck.
But that's what I'm saying though.
I totally agree.
But unless you're getting it directly out of his Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be get it from. I mean, and technically, Facebook is supposed to be fact checking political ads right now, anyway.
I don't think Zuckerberg.
Facebook is completely biased on what they do.
Well, I think Zuckerberg in the congressional hearing said that he has, and he danced around this, and I'm not using the correct verbiage, but he essentially said that they have no responsibility whatsoever to fact check any of the stuff that's put out there.
But they take shit down.
I believe they've done it. I believe they have been. They've had third party fact checkers and they've discontinued ads.
Well, how about the lady that had the whole thing on fucking what's his name with the coronavirus? Was it fuck? I can't even think
Trump's
of his name.
brother.
What's Trump's brother?
He had COVID.
No,
he really did.
The infectious disease
Fauci.
Remember the lady that put out the whole thing about Fauci and had the video? Facebook took all that shit down.
Yeah, but they did. But that was because Facebook had announced that they were, if it wasn't WHO, within the WHO parameters, they were taking it down.
So they are fact-checking stuff. They are deciding.
Right, but we were talking about political ads and political.
But it doesn't matter. Well, we're just talking about anything. We're talking about.
We're also talking about Facebook and not YouTube. But yes, you were correct. YouTube does it and has been doing it both in your version of it as well as in political ads currently.
Things have changed in 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
It's amazing.
So they are taking stuff down.
Jesus Christ.
YouTube definitely is. I believe Facebook is too.
It's not. It's not to the extent like it's just it is not like there was a picture the other day and I can bring this up. There was a picture.
No, if you saw it on Facebook and you don't save it,
it's not on Facebook because he doesn't use Facebook.
Find
Correct.
it again. So what are you talking about?
I can't figure out Twitter. Like I can't figure out how to function
easy.
inside Twitter.
Twitter's easy.
Because it's like some of the handful of people that we follow on Twitter will like retweet something. It's like, okay, I get it, but they'll comment on it and I can see their comment, but I don't see the tweet. And I keep trying to like click on stuff and I can't. I'm fucking old.
Get off my lawn.
With the Twitters and the tweeters and the Facebooks and the My Pages.
MySpace, is that even a thing?
Yeah, it's still around. Apparently, like musicians are into it now. Like it's a musician's platform.
Like on MySpace.
Oh, God,
yeah.
it's like the new vinyl.
It's a new vinyl. Like I still have a MySpace account.
Yeah, man. Like I still have one of those MySpace accounts. Yeah, go ahead.
That was like the
play
first.
that 8-track over there for me. Yeah, doesn't the quality of that fucking sound so much better than this MP3 shit?
You know, sense.
My tucked in flannel shirt and my blue jeans with my beard.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Well, we talked about a lot.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I've gone on multiple rants, and I'm not sorry for it. That I'm angry about. I'm angry at we voters. It really it's the further I've gotten into the rabbit hole of what we've done on the show, the more upset I am about us as voters. And
so
and like I and just as much us as voters as local media specifically. Like local media is not doing any justice to the locality they're supposed to serve.
Well, we're assuming that the local media is owned by local media. Local media is not owned by local media; they're owned by national media.
Okay. All media sucks.
Sure, but for reasons that you're sort of implying.
But I mean, okay, so even if it's national, like, what is national media's intent? Like, is it?
We know the answer to this is to keep the two parties separate, and that's it.
But that's fine. But why would local politics, keeping two parties separate, not be of value to them as much as, you watch a 30-minute nightly Knoxville nightly news show, and it's 7 minutes of weather, 10 minutes of sports.
It doesn't. Okay.
And what little actual news they do.
It doesn't follow the script. You're essentially teaching people to think, and we don't want that to happen here. Like, if you teach people to think, then the people that have been in office for 40 fucking years, they'll be kicked out. Like, you don't.
But why? But what little time they spend on politics, on local news,
right? It's
still McConnell, Pelosi, this, that, and the other, and
sure.
Trump did this, and Trump did that.
Sure.
Why not use that same window of time on Kincannon and Jacobs
because it's all disingenuous. Every bit of it is, because you don't want to teach the people to question what they're hearing. Is that they do, then they push back on the people that have been there forever. That's why. I mean, that's exactly why it feeds the two-party system that we've been bitching about forever. Like, that's why.
Well, then good. And then news sucks. Get better.
Well, we knew that before we started doing this.
Where did it change, though? Like,
I don't think
news used to be, they're reporting this stuff, and they don't.
I don't think it did.
Cable.
I don't even think it did. I don't think it ever was.
So I agree with Sam to an extent. I think some of it is because at the end of the day, you've got a niche, you've got advertisers, you need to make money, and you need to make sure that the base X amount of people are still watching your show. And so if you deviate from that at all, like if you say, just as an example, if you're Fox News and you criticize the president and people get pissed off about that and they start talking about not watching Fox News anymore, you've got people that are in positions of company's power that they say, well, we are with Gillette and we're not going to give you money to advertise on Fox News if we're not watching.
That's the thing. Like, newspapers used to put out stuff like, and going back to, do we still have newspapers? Is that a thing?
I think so.
I know I use
printed,
it to
printed newspapers.
Yeah, like
no, you don't. You use T-shirts
to paint stuff.
Okay.
And
I thought you were going somewhere else. That I was like, no, sir, that's not true.
But they're like
it's the same premise, but yeah.
If you watch like old movies, and obviously movies are not the realistic thing, but there's stories like, I can't print this unless you have facts, and that's not a thing anymore. That's not a.
But I'd argue that it never was. And back when it was the three channels you got, and that's all you had on your TV, and it shut off at 11 o'clock at night, and didn't come back till 8 o'clock in the morning, and you just had the bar screen. That it was you didn't have to put forth the effort to try to keep customers, and that kept it a little bit more real. But even then, it was like, we can feed you whatever we want because this is all you got. And then as it expanded into cable news and cable providers, it expanded into trying to keep customer base because you now have a gajillion options.
Well, that's news channels. It's not about correct news. It's what kind of news can we put out there to maintain our
all right, and the same premise. So what used to be an easily controlled small group of media when it was radio and 5 channels on TV grew into the hundreds of cable, but it was the same initial group of people that were controlling the whole set anyway. And then it got even crazier when we introduced the internet, because now people like us can't exist, but we get buried in the 10,000 other options.
We're media. We got media credentials.
Yeah, that says that people like us exist.
Yeah.
But we are buried inside the 10,000s. And as much as there seems to be no real ceiling to what podcasts are capable of, there are a limited number of hours in the day and people are and people listening that you can't have that many sources inside podcasts. And I mean, hell, I'd say 90% of the, maybe not 90%, but a big chunk of podcasting is fucking murder mystery shit.
Well, I'll tell you, I literally laughed out loud, almost cried when AC posted, "How did we get media credentials?"
Because it's a fucking scam in the first place.
I mean, for those of you that
we talked about this.
Sure, we talked about this, but for those of you that are listening in right now, I mean, this is really, speaking of which, where's Jim?
I gave up on Jim. I gave up on Jim because he's less here than you are.
But you just sort of had this idea in your mind that media credentials is like, Deep Throat guy from
Woodward.
Yeah.
Woodward, yeah.
He's still around.
Yeah, which something else we could talk about here in a second.
So the real question is, hold on, pause you for a second.
Sure.
Can we get Super Bowl media credentials?
Because
if we can work that out,
right,
I'm all for this.
Well, nobody's going to the Super Bowl this year anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, that's not true. No fans will. We're not fans. We're
that's
part
true.
of the fucking media. Goddammit.
But when we had Jesse from Compass on, that was one of the first things I asked him. I was like, "What's the deal with media cred?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, is there a thing that a form you got to fill out or something? It's like, no, you just say, "Hey, I'm with this thing," and it's really whether your business card holds water to them to allow you to call it a credential. That's all it is. Like the idea of a press pass, like if you get into like the
well, I joked when I snuck into the BT after party
right.
on my saying that I was with the media. I thought they were just overwhelmed with what was going on. They let us in. But now I'm thinking it's just like, oh, you're media?
No, because realistically, like the idea of the press pass, if you get into certain situations, like if you get into, like you're part of the White House press corps, like that, you got to go through background checks because you get to be close to the president, and there's security issues and stuff like that.
Can we get
So
that?
there's actually a pass and a physical credential they give you to be a reporter that gets to run around and chase the president all over the
Have
country.
we applied for that yet?
We could, but I'm not really planning on it. But
we can send,
I don't have the time. I have a fucking job. Unlike you,
Wait,
you go
wait,
do
wait.
it. You can use our email.
We can hit Sam. We can send Sam out there. We won't get any comments back. But we can, on report,
Wait, lots of great
we have
video.
Sam. He's like, hello.
Hey guys. But
I was
so
here,
there's so the
President.
reality is it's a construct, for lack of a better word, of that people are afraid of what it is, and it's just you ask and you say you're with it, and you're whether or not you have something to back it with, which we have a podcast to back it with, and for the one that we did get to use it on, we had an in through Randy Pace to give us a vouch, for lack of a better word, that we were media, and that's all it took.
So we just have to put it on. We have tens of listeners.
Yeah.
We have more than that. How many folks are downloading now?
I mean, we're 50 to 75 an episode, somewhere in there. I mean, we've
thought
got
we were
like
like
2,000 or 3,000
2 or 3
Total.
thousand. Oh.
total downloads.
We have tens of listeners.
Regular listeners, we have Todd. Thank you, Todd. You're the best.
How do you know that Todd's regular listener?
Well, he's the regular engaging listener, at least.
What do you mean? What does engaging mean?
He engages with us through our social media.
He's never done anything with our Twitter.
No, but he's a Facebook guy.
He doesn't have a Twitter.
I don't know if he has a Twitter or not. Todd,
Todd,
if
there
you have
you
a
go.
Twitter,
Thank
hit
you.
us up on
Thank you, sir.
Twitter, please.
We'll follow you and we'll retweet the stuff that you know.
If it's good shit,
We tweet.
don't put some stupid shit out there. We won't.
Speaking of good shit, what happened with the Prince of Arabia? Have we ever asked him to come back on?
Yes, he's going to be back.
Or you're making this up?
the second Tuesday of next week.
I've spoken to him post-election, and he said he would be happy to come back on at any time we'd ask him to.
So let's schedule that.
When? Give me a good date on your calendar there, buddy.
Okay.
Who's the Prince of Arabia?
I don't want to justify your fucking racist comment right now.
How is it
I know
racist?
who you're talking
It's
about.
not racist at all.
He's the sheriff of Nottingham, for fuck's sake. Jesus. Sharif Gundi ran for public defender. He's
such a racist.
Egyptian.
How is that racist? It's actually it really wasn't my intention.
Prince of Arabia. I'm glad you're back, Adrian.
I'm not sure. I've been cultivating relationships here, and I feel them all burning all of a sudden.
That's not true.
He doesn't-
October the 3rd,
He didn't
October
follow
the
us
10th.
anyway.
Anybody smell
October
those
the
bridges
24th.
burning?
Halloween. I've got a bunch of Saturdays.
I mean, I think I pissed Randy Pace off, but we'll see.
Why? What happened?
I don't know.
You don't.
Just a side note. I didn't actually. That wasn't my intention. Was to.
You don't have any Saturdays open.
I just mentioned them.
Any Saturdays you have, you're apparently going to the woods, is what he's saying.
Oh, that's fair.
How do I pick up on all the inferences from you guys and nobody
I
else
don't
gets
know,
them? Like,
but-
I get your inferences, I get his, but you guys don't get each
I
other's.
still
That's
got
the reason why we have you here.
That's why you're here.
I still got a sight in my crossbow.
Yeah, I've got to do that too.
They said it comes sighted in, but
I don't trust that shit.
So we need a range day is really what we're talking about.
That's fair.
in a backyard. This backyard, my backyard,
No, we
parking lot.
we need
does
a,
not matter.
For those of us without archery permits, we need a range day.
We don't have an archery. Well, I don't. At least I will.
What?
I don't have the permit yet, but yeah,
Why?
I can get it in 5 seconds.
You said, "Hey, let's go bow hunting." I said, "Okay," and I bought my bow license.
Wait, wait, hold on.
No. Here's the difference. I spent $2,000 on a crossbow. It costs like $20 for the permit that I can do on my phone while I'm taking a shit
Do
en
it.
route to shooting a deer with the crossbow.
Do it now. Do it.
So I want to. What are those dates again? I need to write those down because I'm trying to figure out when there's a day in there that's likely to be more important than anything else that I'm going to schedule for you.
Now you got me feeling bad, man. I like this damn Duke of Nottingham thing, and then now you got me feeling a certain way about this Prince of. What did I
Is
say?
he really a Duke of Nottingham?
Yes,
No.
we had the conversation. Yes, we did.
His name is Sharif. It's
He's-
spelled sheriff with one F,
bullshit.
and he was born in Nottingham, England.
And we
So
said
he
that-
is sheriff of Nottingham. He made the joke on the show.
right. That's right.
Was that here?
Yes.
No, he wasn't here.
No. Was it here? Is it on the show here?
All right, it was on the show, yes. And it wasn't a show that you were in, so you didn't listen. We know this.
This is a 10-minute podcast. I remember this. This was actually kind of funny because I remember saying, like, this motherfucker is awesome. We need to get him back again.
He was great, and I would love to have him back on again.
Dave, sorry.
So he can't run for president?
No, he cannot.
He'd probably be good at it. April, Jesus. October the 3rd, October the 10th, 24th.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that at least that 24th is probably not actually available. That's a lie. Gonna go ahead and mark that as not actually an option.
Of October?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know. There's probably something going on earlier in October that's more important than whatever you're going to schedule late October.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean, there's stuff to kill.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
But we were talking about an interview, and I'm pretty sure that killing things or the other thing is more important than an interview.
I mean, it's like a half a block away. It's not that big of a deal.
For now.
It's so interesting to me that I'm working I was working 6 to 7 days a week, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, this is gonna be more time consuming. Like, I just don't see it.
Okay.
Killing deer is more important.
You're right.
I don't disagree with that. I'm sick of making money. Actually, I never thought I'd say that, but I'm fucking sick of it.
It's gonna.
You understand that. Like, if anybody here understands that, you understand that. I'm sick of it.
Why don't you understand that?
I don't know. I really not.
You're the one that was busting on for not having a job earlier.
Right?
Yeah, I have a job.
Yeah, I'm saying
because he's making more money than me not working.
Yeah, I'm saying that I'm ready to do that.
Right, I would like to do that too.
Yeah.
But our collective interest we make the same. I actually work and make less money than he does not working on the side.
Yes.
I don't think we're disagreeing here.
I think we are.
We're almost
because
agreeing.
our business income is the same. Mm-hmm. His unemployment income is more than my employed income.
Oh. Well, that's on you.
That's on me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I fucked up. I really fucked up for being essential. I know.
You need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
I agree with Sam.
You're right.
If you just work a little harder, everything will be fine.
Yeah, that seems like that is the gist that I've gotten out of 2020.
Yeah,
is that have a job that's important and that people need, and get paid less to work than people that don't work. That sounds like my fault for not.
It sounds a little bitter.
Working hard.
Sounds a little bitter.
I am bitter. I've talked about it openly on this show often. Like, I get mad at myself for feeling jealousy for this fuck because he gets to run around and do whatever he wants and make more money than me not working.
Go to Mexico.
Twice.
3 weeks
right.
apart. Which was funny because we went to the same resort and people were like,
"Oh, you're back?
What?
Did you ever
I tell you, the second time was better.
Did you tell him you had COVID
time.
the second time? Did you tell him you came back with COVID?
No.
How'd they feel about
No,
that?
I didn't.
So, and the guy that's literally pissed off that he didn't get to fly across the country and go on a road trip with you, because he actually had the option to do so. It was within the realm of reality. And yes, I'm a little bitter about it.
I can tell, actually. Go on.
No, that's it. I acknowledge it. I know that it's there. Doesn't change the facts.
So how do you fix it?
I'm trying to. Monday's going to be a good start.
Yeah, hopefully.
What happens Monday?
Soft open of store 2.
Hopefully. Well, we can be open and sell stuff. If we're there and able to sell stuff, might as well, right? That's kind of my philosophy. But
yeah, we will be open Monday. It might be awkward and weird, and it's not going to be perfectly set up.
How's it going to be awkward?
Well, we're not going to have our computer system where we want it to be.
We're not going to have the decorations. We're not going to have stuff. But if somebody wants to come in and get something, they can.
I got to call Joey, actually. That reminds me.
What, from Charlie's?
No, Joey Barnett from Eddie Menace campaign. He promised me that as soon as we open, he'd come check us out. So.
Okay.
Nice.
So we might have one customer.
Why did he say that?
Because he was a potential customer of ours, and I was talking to him about it. And anyway. So, yeah, other topics. I don't know. We ran
sports.
Ran afoul.
I think it's kind of crazy that, so the ACC.
Big Ten's playing now. They put a schedule out.
They were always going to play.
But the ACC had their second week of football. Like Clemson is 2-0.
Woo.
And so next week, SEC starts. The technically fourth week of college football.
Yeah.
A little weird, but ACC's playing 10 games and the SEC's playing 10 games.
All right, so question for everybody here. Say UT runs the table, they win the national title.
It's an asterisk year no matter what. Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I would argue.
How would you put it in an asterisk? Because
I agree with that. For sure.
Well, you got to think that. Like, so how many? Because we're only playing the SEC schedule, unless we go. Are they doing the?
No, it's all SEC.
It's all SEC. Yep.
So there's nothing. Playoffs, no national championship.
So last weekend we would have played Oklahoma.
No, what I'm saying is, so we're still doing the playoff schedule and national championship, right?
Yeah, to my knowledge, yes.
But we're only playing throughout the season SEC teams.
Correct.
But in a normal year, we only play 3 games that are non-schedule.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
All right, here, I got it right here.
It's not that big a deal.
All right, so we would have had it would have been Charlotte on the 5th, Oklahoma on the 12th,
that was somebody.
Furman on the 19th,
Nothing.
and then Florida, Missouri, Georgia or South Carolina. I got both schedules. Kentucky, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky or Arkansas. I'm not sure which one because I got both schedules. Georgia or A&M, Auburn or Troy. Troy would have been on that'd be 4.
So there's only one game
Vandy.
that's really a difference in the schedule.
Right. So, but I think we're not saying the same thing. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm saying is, if we play all of the SEC schedule, just SEC is on the schedule. That's fine by me. What isn't fine is when you are coming into a home stadium and you're playing in front of 100,000 people. That is a thing. When you go to LSU and you're playing in Death Valley and it's fucking loud as shit and it's 8 o'clock at night as a kickoff, that is a big deal.
It's a bad day.
Right.
It's weird.
I see what you're saying.
So
on that.
I'm saying that if you win this year, it is not. You are not as good of a team. I don't care who wins, whether it's UT or Troy. You're not as good of a team as any team
we go
prior
into,
to now.
No, I agree with that
That's
because like in NFL, they were interviewing. I don't know who. I was watching one of the games, and they were talking about after the interview, and they thought, hey, what do you think about not having fans? And it was the quarterback, and the quarterback was like, well,
it's awesome.
It's kind of cool because. I can hear all the play calls. All my people can hear everything that's going on. It's not.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to call my plays without the crowd. So I understand what you're saying with that. I thought you were talking about schedule wise.
No, not at all.
Yeah. But even schedule wise though too, you're gonna have you would maybe not for Tennessee schedule specifically, but Alabama or LSU or Georgia might have had a bigger game that would give them the cred when it gets into decision season for who's the top 4 teams in the year because they played because you always have it doesn't really count. The first one that's coming to my head, which is not a good example, but like USC Notre Dame's always a game every year, and that's a big game, and it's it's a non-conference whatever, and you got
because the ACC
because week 1 every year you always have one normal week 1 every year it's a bunch of fluff. Like 99% of the games are fluff, and you have that one game that is the premier opening weekend game where it's a powerhouse from Conference A and Conference B together. That doesn't happen this year.
Here's really all I'm saying. Even Vegas agrees with the idea that the home team typically gets the field goal.
Gets 3 points, yeah.
Right. So at the very least, when it comes to just money in Vegas, the home team is going to get 3 points. So since there aren't any fans in the stands this year.
Is Vegas still giving 3 points?
Is Vegas still giving three points?
I think it's more than just fans, though. This is where that points comes from. I mean, part of that is the travel, the having to be in the hotel instead of being home.
I mean, but they're typically there Thursday or Friday before they.
I know, but it's still a thing. It's still part of the thing.
So the degenerate gambler we have on staff. You looked into that?
I mean, I no, not really. I haven't actually looked at it in that format.
But it's interesting.
But
it's something to think about.
I mean, I have looked at it in the sense that it's not a like I've seen them and I'm thinking, this one's a 3-pointer. Well, it's a pick. Mm-hmm. And I haven't thought of it in the sense of, well, we don't have a crowd there, and that pick may not exactly be the same. Right. I mean, again, I think there's still more. I follow what you're saying, but I think there's still more to it than just the crowd being that 3 points.
I mean, but we stay in hotels the night before oftentimes too, like even if we're home.
Right.
And so, like, if that's the case, then we're just used to it. What's the difference? Whether or not we stay home or we stay in Tuscaloosa's hotel. Who gives a shit whether the hotel's here or whether the hotel's in Tuscaloosa?
Alabama stays in a hotel the night before. I walked through their ball walk.
So does Tennessee. I mean, we do. I mean, UT does. They stay in one of the downtown hotels. The whole team takes a floor and they stay there. The night before a game. That's normal. Right. And I don't know. I mean, you still have travel time, which again, like with NCAA rules, I don't know where travel time sits against, practice time, and like they have all the rules on how much time you're allowed to do X, Y, or Z.
I wonder what Hawaii's doing with this coronavirus.
You mean as far as infection rates and
the
team, or are we still talking football, or are we talking just generally?
Well, Hawaii is a whole other level. Like I had friends that were going to Hawaii, and they were told they had their plans booked and stuff. They ended up coming to Mexico with us, but they had a trip planned to Hawaii, and they were told they had to quarantine in the hotel for 14 days before they could start their vacation.
That's right. I heard the same.
And they were like, we're not going to spend 21 days there to...
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, so anyway, but that was not my point. But you said that. But like Hawaii, they travel. Like they'll do 4 games at home, and then they will do 3 or 4 games in the United States where they...
Continental United States.
Yeah, the continental United States. So they're here, and then they'll practice and stuff at a school or whatever, and they'll play a game, then they'll fly back to Hawaii. I wonder how they're doing with this whole Corona thing.
That's a good question.
The official schedule for Hawaii.
Which conference are they in again?
Hawaii football.
Pacific.
Canceled. Postponed. They have no schedule this year.
They have no schedule. Okay.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that's their Hawaii Athletics football.
Are they the Pac-10
page.
Well,
they're Arizona, UCLA. Yeah, they are in the Pac-12.
Pac-12.
Their schedule was Arizona, UCLA, Fordham, Oregon,
been canceled.
Robert Morris, Nevada, New Mexico State, Air Force, Boise State, Fresno State, New Mexico, UNLV, San Jose State, San Diego State.
Right, but
I'd say that whole conference is probably called off their season.
Well, I was looking through conferences. The only conference that I saw that called off was the Pac-10, but then now they have a schedule.
They're either Big West or Mountain West. No,
UCLA is Pac-10.
No, but
no, he was doing off their schedule.
Right, Hawaii is either Big West or Mountain West.
Oh.
No, Big Ten is Ohio State and those guys.
No, I said Big Ten. Pac-10.
Right, but he was saying that's the schedule. They're the ones that said they were doing their schedule. But Pac-10 there's no Pac-10. It's Pac-12.
Okay.
And it's UCLA and
whatever.
USC.
Pacific
and
in a number.
You said what were you looking?
That was Hawaii's schedule that I just read.
No, which did you think they ran?
Either Big West or Mountain West.
There's a Big 10, a Big South, a Big Sky, and a Big 12. There's a Mountain West.
Right. Maybe the Big West is Division 2. I don't know. Maybe that's Fordham and whatever.
Boise, Fresno, Nevada.
They're in the Mountain West.
Okay. So Mountain West. Boise State, Mountain West. My favorite field in football, I think, to be honest. That blue is fun.
Yeah, they're Mountain West, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway. So they don't have a schedule as of right now. I don't know if the rest of the Big West does or not.
No, they don't have a schedule at all.
The Mountain West is exploring the possibility of an 8-game fall football season. This is according to the Desert News. This is also 24/7 for sports. Yeah.
Colorado State, they don't have a schedule right now at all.
It looks like they will, though.
But I mean, if I'm Hawaii, I don't know. If I'm Hawaii, I don't know if they. I don't know what the conference does if they decide to not participate. I mean, we were talking about this off air. Is the NCAA is given the player option. You can take the year off if you want to for your own health and safety or whatever, but you don't lose eligibility. But does that change your eligibility to go into the draft?
Elaborate. What do you mean?
So if I was a sophomore last year and I was a stud sophomore and I have NFL potential, especially as like a linebacker or running back, some position that has a lot more wear and tear on it, that has less longevity in the pros, do I take that year off and then go into the draft because I don't have to take the wear and tear. I have the ability to go pro, which it's rare in football that that's an option. But like Clowney did it when he was at South Carolina. He took his junior year off. He played, air quotes, but he took his year off because he knew he was a top defensive end draft pick and wanted to make sure he stayed healthy through his junior year and not ruin his ability to go pro and make money.
Which I'm not okay with.
I go both ways. I mean,
you think they should play all 4 years?
No, I don't care whether they play all 4 years.
But if you're gonna play, fucking play.
But if you're getting a scholarship, if you're getting paid to go to school, your goddamn ass needs to be playing unless you're injured. That's my take.
I agree. If you take a year off, you don't get a scholarship.
Yeah, I that's where I am.
Right, so, but he like soft shoot. I mean, he played, like he was on the field somewhat.
That was Seth doing air quotes. Played.
I mean, he did. Like he dressed and he would go on the field and he would run a few plays and then
if I was coaching that team, he would play 100% or I'm throwing his ass off the team.
I mean,
I cost him millions. But I sit him down in a room somewhere and I say, listen, I get what you're doing, but I'm coaching an entire team, not just you.
Right.
And I'm happy to back you, but you will either give 100% effort or you will not play and I will kick you off this team and I will make this a national media thing. This is your call. Whatever you want to do, I'm happy to do it.
But I mean, I think realistically the result of that is the conversation about how long, why the requirements are in place the way they are. Because it's a short-term profession. There's only a handful that get to go 10, 12.
And if that's his response, two things I would say. I would say, well, Reggie White did it for a fair amount of time,
right.
Number one. And number two, I would say, well, if that's the case, you should have picked a different position in football. Right now, you were brought on here in your scholarship to play this position.
I agree.
Like Roethlisberger.
Right, but I'm saying.
He came back for his linemen and his team.
And the money, probably.
No, he said he came back for the team because this is the most skilled team he's ever been with.
He wants to win a Super Bowl. He wants the Colquitts to win another Pittsburgh Super Bowl. He wants another Colquitt Super Bowl. What's up, Dustin? How you doing, buddy?
He follows us.
Does he really?
Sure. No.
No.
I remember when he was here, though. Do you guys? I don't know if you guys.
We went to high school with him.
Do you guys remember when he actually? He wrecked his car on campus. He was drinking.
Him or Britton?
His younger brother got in trouble for it.
Younger brother.
Yeah, Britton was the fucking. Yeah, he was the alcoholic mess.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we were working together, when I first started working with Max.
I know this story.
Yeah, I was working the door one night, and I went to high school with Dustin and Britton.
Did he recognize you?
No.
Okay.
But Britton came up with Dustin's ID.
Okay, I got you.
And I wasn't looking at him. I just looked at the ID and I saw it was Dustin. I was like, "Hey, this is your brother's ID, dude." He's like, "No, it's not. It's mine." I was like, "No, this is your brother's ID. I can keep it, or you can go away." And so I gave it back to him and went down the street.
Right.
Partied somewhere else.
Right.
It may or may not have been the night in question, but I don't think it was. But anyway, he was like that.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, we all make fucking dumb decisions when we're younger. I mean, I'm not saying that's who he is now. I'm just saying.
What do you mean you make dumb decisions now?
I mean, that's like
you don't
working.
You don't make dumb decisions now?
We're not talking about me. I was not the one that said I don't make dumb decisions.
Working 6 12-hour shifts a week for 4 months is a dumb decision, and that's what we're getting at.
Depends on what our operating definition of dumb. It's good money.
Yeah, but then he's got a.
Anybody have any thoughts on this Board of Health debacle that's going on right now? I want to talk about that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Anybody? Nobody?
Come on, Sam. Clarify what he's talking about.
I made fudge for you guys, but I forgot to bring it.
2 county commissioners.
With some Colorado in it, or
no? It's not. There's no Colorado in it. Also, I've got something for you.
Yeah.
We'll go to that.
2 county commissioners.
Kyle Ward and another county commissioner put in a thing in place to try
Thanks,
to
Sam, for talking.
To remove the Board of Health
this
part.
Motherfucker right here just takes over.
I mean, he was fine. Sam,
come on, Sam. Don't let him overtalk you.
I only know the very basics of it. Yeah, two county commissioners apparently.
Damn, I missed this.
I think they were trying to propose to the county commission to limit the powers of the health commissioner.
That's a fucking awesome idea.
So the premise is, and I get it.
Say that one more time, Sam.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Were you not listening?
No.
2 county commissioners have proposed to limit what the health department can do.
Board of Health.
Board of Health.
What does that mean?
Well, so the Board of Health is changing policy. Like, Board of Health says bars have to shut down at this time.
Right, the mask mandate through the Board of Health. Now, grab me one of the Malibus. He's gonna get all pissy. That's one of his.
I will.
He won't drink the Malibu on the other side.
He won't.
But
fucking Malibus. That's exactly what I want. Do
anyway,
I have a vagina?
Do
on
I?
me.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, right. So we're in a state of emergency. State of emergency gives Board of Health powers to make rules and regulations, and it's important to differentiate somehow. I don't really understand what the difference in a rule and regulation that is enforceable by law and a law is.
We should have a lawyer on board here.
Right. And so they're not making law per se. They're making rules and regulations. Rules and regulations include currently that this week they changed the bar mandate from 10 o'clock for air quotes bars, and this is part of the issue, is that the definition of bar is loose, to anybody that serves on-premise alcohol now has to close down by 11. Close down by 11. It's not stop serving alcohol by 11, close period by 11. Then they have the mask mandate and the other stuff that they put in place. And so Mayor Kane has been really pissy about it. He's the only elected person that is on the Board of Health as the county mayor, and he has been very vocal about he has issues with a non-elected body making rules and regulations that affect citizenry. And so my issue with it personally is that we can agree on the ends. We don't have to agree on the ends, but just for conversation's sake, let's agree on the end, that it's important that we're trying to keep this pandemic under control and that we're okay with the ends. But the means of a non-elected body making rules and regulations for you and I, citizen, to have to adhere to is a problem to me. And so that's where it kind of gets into the weeds as far as the conversation goes, is that whether we agree on the ends or not, because then you have on top of that right now, I don't know locally, but there was a big story coming out of Nashville where Nashville was, there was a conversation in Nashville about how many cases they'd trace back to the bar industry in Nashville, and it was like 8. And that there was but this whole conversation was between their Department of Health and the mayor's office through emails, and they were specifically conversating about how to not share that information with the public, in that because they wanted to continue the restrictions that they'd put on place in the bars and restaurants. And so they were afraid that if they told the public that, well, we only had a few cases that came out of bars and restaurants, that the public would be like, oh, cool, let's go back into bars and restaurants because it's not that big a deal. And so they were trying to keep that under wraps. And so this whole conversation behind closed doors in Nashville had happened. And so I don't know if that's the same here in Knoxville, but that's happening there. And then we have this thing happening here. And, presumably the same sort of situation where, since we are in a state of emergency, the Nashville Board of Health is doing the same thing. And so anyway, Mayor Jacobs' whole thing is that he doesn't like this non-elected body making these decisions. And so he's dissented. So every single time they meet and they vote on something, it's 8-1. He's the one, they're the 8. But his big issue, at least my understanding of it through his Facebook page and other sources, is that it's not so much the ends that he opposes to, it's the method that we're getting here. And so it is, Todd inferred it in conversation that it was Mayor Jacobs trying to take that power for himself in his office, not necessarily that it should be a county commission thing. But, and so Kyle and one of the other county commissioners are putting the thing in place to pull the Board of Health out and make it a commission issue, which I tend to agree with.
Absolutely.
I don't
100%.
think the Board of Health should have zero voice. I think they should have voice, and they should be a strong advisor in the conversation. But when we're talking about, because the Board of Health has one job. I mean, they have multiple aspects of the job, but the main job is health and safety of the public. And if that is your job, then this is the logical move. But there's more to the public than just health and just health and safety.
Okay, so real quick, would you feel more comfortable if the people that were involved on the Board of Health were elected?
Yes.
So you'd be okay with it if that was the case?
I mean, where's the accountability if they're not? Like, what's their accountability?
Right, sure. I'm not arguing that. That's how the stance I'm taking.
Right.
I'm just saying that
Yes.
that at the end of the day, if you were okay with that, then really it sounds like at the end of the day, what we should do is we should have a larger conversation about maybe we should potentially allow for a voting element to be involved here. Oh boy, man down.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but I mean, and again, I get it. And if you take the more historical approach of why a board of health gets instituted in a state of emergency, it's like we need an efficiency to decision making. We can't make it a full standard. Everybody's voting on it. We're fighting on it because we don't have the time to do those sort of it's to, if nothing else, it's to try to shorten the window of how long a decision takes to make. And I get that part as well, because if you have the more standard legislative bodies fighting over things, it takes time, and that's on purpose.
But I think there's another component too. Is that you're assuming that not you, but I think part of the reason why it's not an elective office is that some of the rhetoric that's involved is not involved if it's just folks that are just promoted, like put in place there.
Right.
So it doesn't allow us the opportunity to have the Ted Cruz's of the world to just sort of put himself up there with some sort of rhetoric, as opposed to you're qualified,
right?
You've got a background, you know what the fuck you're doing, like that sort of thing,
right?
So I don't know. Like I guess I see both sides of it. I tend to actually agree with Kane, frankly,
right?
But I also understand that if you transition this into an elected official type of role,
I agree.
Then you have to deal with the convoluted rhetoric that goes along with people that are just interested in being a part of this conversation.
Right. But what if the Board of Health said, "Oh, we were looking at how many people die of smoking every year, so we're going to outlaw smoking in Knox County."
Yeah.
We're not going to sell cigarettes in Knox County. We're not going to do any of that in Knox County because we know that if people stop smoking, it's for the good of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whose decision was it years ago to, if an establishment wanted to have smoking inside, it had to be 21 and up all the time.
That was
a state law,
that was a state law by elected officials. That wasn't a Board of Health kind of thing. Like, I just have a problem with the Board of Health should have but input on things, but they shouldn't be mandating laws.
Right. Again, the issue is that in a normal set of circumstances, the Board of Health does have input. But since we're under a state of emergency, they get authority, and that's the difference in the position currently. And since they have the authority, and again, I'm not trying to argue that their decision is wrong.
I understand what you're saying.
It's the process that's that's in question, and
so let's create a situation where the Board of Health or any Board of Health is able to provide recommendations that are actually adhered to, as opposed to yes or no. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the problem ends up being, let's say that the Board of Health or a Board of Health is being 100%. For the people, the safety and security of the people, but yet you have elected officials that are in office that are concerned about re-election for their own hides, and they don't listen to those sorts of things. If they do, they may potentially not win re-election. What do you do then?
Right. Well, I think that's part of the problem. I mean, part of the problem being is that we, the public, are not particularly engaged in paying attention.
I agree.
To say that, oh well, this is. Commissioner X's, he's playing to his base or whatever to try to keep his job, not making the right decision for the county.
What was the first part you said there? We are not what? Just humor me. The public is not what?
Engaged.
Right, and so I think that's why rhetoric works so well.
Right.
Because it's this 5-second snapshot that we can just sort of throw out there, and then the people that are not particularly engaged can just sort of see that and be like, oh, that's what's going on, sounds good. Let me go back to, wow, I got to clean these fucking dishes.
But
I think that's why rhetoric works so well, is because people are not engaged. They don't get in-depth sort of knowledge about what's going on. They can't make any sort of informed decision, assuming that they are logical human beings in the first place.
Well, look how the ATF works as a non-elected job title. You know what I mean? They fuck up shit all the time. Like, that is a department that needs to go away, but they keep on doing things to try to justify why they should be around. I mean, we could have a whole program on how fucked up the ATF is.
It's like the same neighborhood. Though,
I finished the Waco show. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good show.
It was very good.
It was really good. I don't know. I mean, I think the Wake Up show. This is, and we're obviously going off on a, but this is the show. So Fuck
We
you
are
guys
2 months
listening.
away from fucking deer hunting, by the way. Just want to
We
let you know.
are.
No, we're a week away. I thought.
Well, I mean, gone with all 5 of us. We're counting.
His,
You motherfuckers are like, how many people?
I was like,
Well, the
his-
listeners
you're
know
talking about my
Rowdy's our
wife?
dog, so
That's fine.
my wife's hunting, so yeah, that's 5. No, but like the Waco. The interesting thing about the Waco show, because it was written by a person that was in the compound, and one of the guys that was
the
working
FBI negotiator guy.
FBI
Yeah.
from the outside. So it's a both sides view. So is it completely 100% accurate? Probably not. But it's very interesting that it's by not one side of the story.
So I'm gonna throw this out here. Maybe this is something we talk about. Maybe we don't. But if Trump has given us anything, I think Trump has given us that there's a collection of facts in any scenario, and the collection of facts that we have in a scenario can be used to push any sort of narrative that we may potentially want to have. It is on the consumer of said narrative to determine whether or not that completely describes how I want to go forward with it or not. So, and I think that is what keeps us from saying whether something is fake news or not.
No.
You know what I mean?
You're absolutely correct. And like even going back to George Bush and the Iraq War kind of thing. I'm not putting it on George Bush that George Bush stood up in the podium and said, "Oh, there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. We need to go and go to war with these guys." I truly believe that he was led to by his people.
I tend to agree with that too. Yeah, I don't think he's smart enough to come up with that on his own.
No. He was he was led to believe,
Yeah,
but it
I agree with
was
that.
what they needed to do to go to war.
Yeah.
And obviously we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction, but like I think there's a lot of organizations that do that. Like, what do we want to do? Like, let's use this to push this agenda or this situation. Not that I'm saying that the Knox County Board of Health is, I don't know what agenda they'd be pushing to try to close the 11.
Right, they have a very specific agenda, and it is by job title. It is public health. That's what they do. That is their agenda.
I don't think it's an accident though that what I just described of collection of facts can allow you to create a narrative. I don't think it's an accident that the two responses you could have as a public person would be to engage and go further, or disengage, call it fake news, and not allow any critical analysis. It seems like that, the second thing that I said, is actually where we are. It is easier to convince a people to say, there's nothing to see here. That's just fake news.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, I find it interesting that that's just sort of where we are.
Right.
Like,
No.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it
Right,
sort of
it
feeds the beast that we're actually in right now.
Right. And I think a clarification on where you started that is that Trump gave us that not just in Trump doing that.
Right. Sure.
Trump exposed that across
Sure.
the board because
Yes,
the
100%,
Pelosi hair
100%.
salon debacle is the same the
sure.
same story. It's
I
like,
completely
no,
agree.
you didn't see the video of me in the hair salon without my mask on, even though I'm sitting up here telling you got to wear your fucking mask and all the bullshit at the same time.
Right.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%.
And we can whether we can manipulate and do what we want with, and we can cherry pick facts, and we can cherry pick articles and people that actually know better and pull parts and pieces out and make the story sound like what we want it to sound like.
Correct.
Or we can avoid the answer by saying, "Oh, I was duped by a fucking hair salon owner," into saying, "Oh, well, she knew the law better than I did, so she must be okay with me being in here without a mask or whatever the fuck it is."
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you for sure.
so like, is it? I mean,
Which was my hope for Trump, honestly.
is it?
Man, my hope in Trump getting elected was for him to show how much of a shit show this actually is.
I don't know if he's smart enough to figure that out.
I'm not saying he did it on purpose.
He didn't
he's
do it
a
on
pretty
purpose.
smart guy.
I don't-
You
I-
can't say that. You
it's-
cannot say that he's not a smart guy.
Hold on. What I'm saying is he's good at rhetoric. I don't think that he's critically, like, he doesn't have some sort of critical analysis intellectual. Like, he's not one of those guys. So, like, I guess I need an operating definition of
I don't know, man.
intellectual.
Like he's a salesperson.
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Like, he's good at making money, running businesses, spending stuff. Like I wouldn't say he's a dumb guy by any means. George W. Yeah,
I would say this. I feel comfortable saying this. I think Trump is closer to a con man than he is an intellectual. But I do think that to be a good con man, you have to be a little bit smart.
No, I will 100% agree with you.
Okay,
on that. But with the Board of Health, so why are they spending it? Why do they care? Is it a reason like, hey, we need more money because of this whole COVID thing?
That's a good question.
We've had to like shut down bars. Like where's the
What's
span?
their motivation?
What is their motivation to close bars at 11 o'clock? Like,
well, it's
what's their
To me, it's the simple of like the trashy example that's been thrown around a lot would be like, well, so many people drive cars, and we have X number of accidents and people that die in cars every day, so we should stop driving. That's if all you care about is people not dying in car accidents, then you say we can't drive anymore.
Yes, because there's been more people killed in Knoxville in car accidents than COVID. Right,
and so if your sole platform as far as your initiative, what you're supposed to be doing as far as in terms of this specific parameter that you have, which would be the public health from the pandemic, and that's all that your job is to put rules and regulations in place to minimize the risk and minimize the damages of the pandemic, then you do what you have to do to fit that goal. And so if we take out the pandemic and take car accident deaths and replace it, then you say no more driving. And so your concern is not people's ability to get to and from work, to and from school, to and from X, Y, and Z. Your concern is not about people's ability to live their lives. Your concern is about whether people die or not in their car. So the easy way to fix that.
So I understand. So I get what you're trying to say, but I do think that's almost that's dangerously close to cancel culture here, because there are more people that died from AIDS this year than have died from COVID, and yet we're not mandating folks having sex to wear condoms.
So
which is a similar argument to what you're saying. Is that
right?
So
but I'm saying
so on that topic, what you just said, more people have died from AIDS than from COVID. Are they stopping medical procedures?
With HIV or whatever.
Are they stopping medical procedures for people that have AIDS versus people that have COVID?
Right. So the difference though is, and we had this actual conversation. The transmission, the
because the transmission is different. I got you. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So anyway, point being that if your parameter is to do something with X, then if all your focus is on X, and then this is the logical conclusion. I think part of the Board of Health, I think the Board of Health got leaned on by UT specifically
because all the sororities
because all the shit that's going on with the students. I think UT
they had to rent out a hotel to start
I think
putting students in.
I think UT is freaking out about how much it's costing them in direct response to, as far as renting hotels for quarantine and figuring out how to separate students and do all the stuff with their actual students on campus, as well as how they're projecting how many students they're not going to have next semester or the semester after that. This is
I heard enrollment was up this year.
So we need to blame your wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is that?
Because she's one of the bars that is part of the problem. And again, that's a secondary part of the issue, is that there is a select that, in my opinion, at least as I have seen it, is that it very much seems like UT leaned on the Board of Health and said, these bars in this set of places that is affecting our students is who we care about. And the Board of Health makes a decision that takes all bars in the county.
I gotcha.
And so that's a secondary issue that I think is actually is reality there.
But on the bright side, your wife would be home earlier.
Yeah, and she was. Like I tried to go to bed early last night to get up and get out to work early this morning, which I failed on both on, but she was home before I went to bed.
So just to be clear, the amount of deaths for AIDS in 2020 is 955,000. This year
in Tennessee?
No, in the world.
I was like, holy shit!
So you said 955,000.
955,000 people have died from. Sorry, 955,000 people have died from coronavirus since it has, been a thing.
From AIDS.
No, from coronavirus. I misspoke the first time.
We're hitting
misspoke.
1 million
Worldwide.
Okay, sorry.
Yes. And in 2019, 690,000 people have died worldwide from AIDS. So
Okay, so 2/3.
So I was trying to think of a
2/3.
I was trying to think of a hypothetical of a different version of a board of health doing something that the ends are different. That the ends might be something we agree with, but that we wouldn't. I was trying to think of some other organization inside the county government.
Does it have to be?
I was thinking about.
In some ways, you could. It's relatively flimsy, but the fact that Pence has a tie-breaking vote in the Senate is a problem.
I was thinking more locally, but.
Well,
I mean,
as
matter.
it stands, what decisions do county commissioners have on the general health and well-being of the county?
I don't know that they have any specifically.
Is that a jurisdiction question?
I mean, yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if nothing else, they have.
If we want to essentially instill or take away the board of health, got to give it to someone, or at least have them have an input.
Is that what you're advocating? You're advocating take away the board of health?
I'm trying to take it away. I'm trying to say that I think it's something that has a punitive damage to it that you can get fined or jailed for as a citizen or a business in the jurisdiction. I think that needs to come from an elected body, not an unelected body.
Okay, so let me take a step back then, real quick.
Then you've got to then you've got to require that those elected officials have the capacity to make those decisions, because I guarantee you, most of those people on the county board of commissions have little to no health knowledge.
They might not, but they're the ones elected to have the authority to change laws in our county.
I would argue.
Well, that's what I'm kind of wondering. What?
Right. So I think maybe this, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think the spirit of what you're saying is the assumption is that just because we elect them, they're going to be qualified. I mean, that
absolutely not. No.
Right. I don't think that's the case either.
But so, qualified for what? I guess is what I'm
qualified to make the decisions. I guess what I'm saying is, let's say you have two. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's just say we have two people. We literally just have two people, and one person is an elected official and one person isn't, and that elected official is elected based on your community. I mean, we can't assume that the person that is elected into the office is even as qualified as the person that would have been hired for the position based on the resume.
Right, but the person who, based on their resume, may be more educated.
I don't know about educated, but
or more knowledgeable, more capable of, more reasonably capable of making the decision.
Okay.
Shouldn't have an authority to make a decision against my life.
And the only difference is whether or not they're on a ballot.
Yeah, absolutely. So
you got to find something better than that.
Well, give me a hypothetical of where this person who has knowledge in whatever subject it is has a direct impact on my life.
I gave you one with Pence. I mean, aside from the fact that he's on the ticket with Trump.
Okay, again, more locally.
That realistically, federal law is a big deal. I mean, this Ginsburg thing is a.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just trying to think of something that's more more directly palatable as comparing to the bar restrictions that were put in place.
I try to think of an example, but I think this Pence thing is a pretty damn good example of this. I mean, if you have if Murkowski and Collins ends up being the two that end up defecting, and it comes down to whether or not Pence is the one that casts the tie-breaking vote. I mean, Roe Wade is gone, and Citizens United stays, and there's a lot of stuff that does affect you here at the local level that is of course federal, but it does affect you.
All right. All right, and so.
I want to remind everybody that's still accidentally listening that I do agree with the initial part that it is problematic that you have a group of individuals that are making decisions that are not elected. But it seems like the implicit idea in there is that if they are elected, they're automatically more qualified, or that they are more qualified than the person that is in that office. And I'm saying that based on all of the conversations we've had since this podcast has been available, we can all agree that rhetoric is a fucking huge part of this dialogue. And you could really just have somebody that's in there that just has amazing rhetoric that has no idea what the fuck they're doing, and that they can pass laws that don't actually help us at all. Is that on the community? Sure.
Right.
That doesn't save the lives of your kids.
Right, but that is right.
So-
But the difference being is that theoretically,
Yeah.
I have the ability to voice my public opinion against said thing.
You do, but conversely, you also don't have to worry about the other thousands of people here locally that are not smart enough to see through the rhetoric. That hopefully there's a group of folks that are promoting these individuals into these roles that don't have any say so about whether or not they get elected or reelected and make the right decision. They are just concerned about knowledge and background and ability and that sort of thing.
So we need an IQ test for voters.
Come on, that's a stretch. You got to find better.
I'm just saying.
Nobody agrees with the IQ test anymore. That's
No,
what
I
I'm
agree.
saying.
No, I agree with IQ test.
I'm just saying, like, it's like, okay, so
Are people that vote? Are there people that vote that are dumb?
well, no,
and uninformed? Yes,
but are there people that ever elected into office that are dumb? Yes,
sure.
but can I go out and publicly demonstrate against a public official more effectively than I can a private individual that is making decisions against me?
More effectively? What does that mean?
Well, if you
I mean,
don't
I could
if you
sue
don't
the
like
government. I could
of-
do a lot of things against a Pence, for example, for
what?
a decision that he doesn't have the authority to make or something like that.
Well, he has the authority, which is why he's doing it.
I mean, not necessarily, but okay.
I mean, yes, necessarily.
In your specific, he does, sure. But
sure. He in my specific, which is the argument that I gave, he has the ability to do that, which is why he goes down there.
right,
and
which
casts
is
a vote.
why I asked for a different argument or a different hypothetical, because I'm not tracking this one very well. I'm not tracking this one very well as far as
What do you mean by tracking?
like I get it. I get the premise of what you're saying, but as far as a day-to-day lifespan thing and my interaction with it, because again, local matters to me, and that's what I'm trying to get at in the conversation
Sheriff,
anyway.
That's an elected position, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's more complicated than that.
What about the Knox
This
County
is-
Sheriff?
I'm just giving you a local position that's actually elected that has a large effect upon your life.
Right. Now, that's an example I was trying to work on. It's like because Sheriff Spengler's gotten shit about his illegal immigrant policy or some shit like that. It's like G37 or something. I've heard like different things about it on the side, but the KPD, the chief of the Knoxville Police Department, is appointed by the mayor. So if the mayor makes not the mayor, but if the chief of the KPD makes some sort of policy change inside the KPD, the mayor is the one that takes the flack for it, not that individual. Where Sheriff Spengler, if he made a similar decision, that is a votable issue, and that we as the voters can do something about. And I'm okay, and I like that direction of it. That's all I'm getting at.
We don't have a decision until the next election cycle.
Yeah. But their decision is based on election cycle.
This is a straw man argument. If you have voted locally to send 2 senators to vote in D.C., and both of those D.C. folks agree with you, and the vice president is casting this deciding tie-breaking vote, I do not accept that this is a federal thing and not necessarily a local thing. Like I'm dying on this hill. Like
that's fine. I'm just like I said, I'm not tracking this as well as far as something influenceable by me in the same level.
But it is. But it absolutely is. I mean, like
I know. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying. It is not something that I have at least enough knowledge in the specifics of the situation interaction with to make at least an informed argument against. I'm trying to get something more locally based to a better analogy to the Board of Health conversation we're having locally than a federal thing.
I guess I'm not understanding that. I've given you a bunch of those, and I'm just trying to figure out where's the disconnect. Like you just need like an actual address and zip code. Like I'm not trying to be a smart ass here. Like I'm really just trying to understand how is what I've provided not an accurate representation of what we're trying to talk about.
I don't understand it as well. I just
which part?
What do
The
you
fact that Pence can so at the end of the day, if we're trying to get a Supreme Court justice pushed through in the 6 weeks it is before the election, and Murkowski and Collins are not in, and let's just say Lindsey Graham just has a come to Jesus and he says he's not going to do it either, and it relies on Pence to make this vote. I mean, Pence does it. Any other time, he never votes. He only votes if there's a tiebreaker.
Right.
That's it. There's no other information to know.
Okay. And that is that there is a problem within that. Okay. I'm not disagreeing that that's
Okay. So then what I'm saying is,
it's a system issue.
which all of it really is.
Right. And which, I mean, going back to the Board of Health conversation, it's a system issue.
Yeah.
Is that there's a problem there's a problem that the system got us to this point where a body of
Right.
unelected people are making decisions.
And
to
again,
affect.
the implied thing that we're talking about here is that just because they're elected, it means that people that made these sort of decisions on the ballot were completely informed, not persuaded by rhetoric, made critical analysis on what was going on, and were thoughtful in their decision making process. Which I guess
what I'm trying to I guess what I'm pushing back on, I guess, is that there's an accountability to an elected person that isn't on and on. Now,
I'm saying that's not necessarily true, is what I'm saying.
With your Pence example, I guess that makes sense in the sense that
with any example, really.
No,
I mean,
well, even with Pence, he was elected.
Well, he was elected in addition to. He
Right.
wasn't elected directly.
right.
No, he's elected directly.
No,
the president is elected
it's
elected directly.
Yeah,
and
I can't agree with that at all.
He's just kind of
he's
he's along for the ride.
Sure.
No, but he's the running mate. I mean, if somebody,
Right.
if
Sarah
a president,
Palin kills the presidential run.
well,
So
yeah,
the vice president matters
if I'm running
if
for
you fuck up.
president, and
We've had that conversation.
I
before.
know.
the guy that my running mate is the head of the Ku Klux Klan. Well,
I mean,
obviously,
he may still get elected.
David Duke ran for governor of Alabama.
But what I'm saying is when you're voting for the president, the vice president matters to some point.
It does this year.
I don't agree with that.
Are you serious? You don't think that people are going to vote for? Really? No?
Vote for what?
Kamala.
No, I think
Harris?
I think people. Yeah, I mean,
You don't think people are just going to vote because?
No,
No, because they already didn't.
Are
The
you-
Democrats couldn't fucking get her anywhere
I don't.
by herself.
I don't even know what that means. I think at the end of the day, if you are truly on the fence about whether or not you vote for Trump or vote for Biden, no, you're not going to vote for Kamala Harris at all. Like, no, the Harris.
You don't think that women votes out there? Like,
No,
there's not people going, this guy's got Alzheimer's, he's going to get elected, and a year into it, he's going to be pulled out, and we're going to have our first female president?
no, I absolutely think that's the most fucking ludicrous thing I've ever heard. There might be a small fucking
Okay,
like
wait,
six people that
wait.
say that, but no.
What
not at all.
did we just talk about? That our voters are fucking stupid.
I do agree with that, but I think that the people that are deciding on not voting for somebody yet, and they're waiting for like the folks that are in the middle, I would argue that those folks are actually not the idiots.
I would say that when a president is picking their vice president, they're thinking, "Can I pick up an extra 10%?"
There's no way that
No.
Harris picks up 10%. No way at all.
I don't even think
Zero.
that. I don't think that's traditionally true either.
No, I think it's traditional.
Okay, well, we can agree to disagree. Where are we at?
No,
on this?
we are not agreeing to disagree.
We'll disagree
we are
to
just
disagree.
agreeing.
Okay, where were we talking about a second ago? Elected
We
officials.
were trying to work on an analogy for that made sense that I could track I was trying to work out a hypothetical.
Right. So I think at the heart of what we're saying is we're assuming that just because a person or a group of individuals are elected, it means that they then have a what was the spirit of what you said? They are
More accountable than
that's right, and I would argue that that's not necessarily true. I mean, you look at if you look at Mitch McConnell right now, who's been a senator in Kentucky now for decades, like the state of
Do
Kentucky,
better, Kentucky.
Yeah, like education is like the bottom third of the country year in year out.
So how does that argue your point of?
I'm sorry. How does it not? Like
Elected
at the end of
officials?
yeah, like at the end of the day, if you are a citizen of Kentucky, and I'm sure that there are wonderful ones there, I may or may not have married one. But like at the end of the day, if you don't like your environment, fucking change your leadership. Like
we're agreeing with that. That's what we're saying.
I wholly agree with that part of it.
Right. So like at the end of the day, they're not accountable because all you have to do is just it's smoke and mirrors. It's the fucking Wizard of Oz. That's all this is.
Right. And
you
that's
are arguing our side right now.
Well, that part, yes, in a sense that's what needs to be fixed. The smoke and mirrors game is what needs to be fixed. And what has become the sub-intent for me, at least for this show, is that the smoke and mirrors is the bullshit that we need to fix.
I completely fucking agree.
And that you out there, voters, and us included, need to do better to say Mitch McConnell doesn't need to be there for fucking 50 years. Joe Biden didn't need to be there for fucking 50 years. And then he doesn't need to go and be a president after that and all the other shit. And that's the point I mean, I agree that just because you're an elected official doesn't mean you're knowledgeable or you have the intelligence and depth of knowledge on a specific issue to make the best decision possible in the sense. Right. But at least you're an elected official in the sense that you have some accountability to me, where you don't. Like at the end of the day, if you personally are on the Board of Health, you have zero accountability to me. If I don't like the decision you make, what do you care? Other than you know me personally. What do you lose by pissing me off?
So, I understand what you're trying to say. I really do. But you're assuming that this is just one vote for one person, that everybody else is as thoughtful and as intentional. And
everybody else needs to catch up.
And spends the time that you put into the show, whether it's interviewing people or whether it's us five clowns together. Like at the end of the day, this is the abnormal. And so, yes, the spirit of what you're saying, I totally agree with, and that's assuming that everybody's on the same page, and they're fucking not.
I agree with that.
And they show up, and they're like, is that an R? I'll vote for him. Like, that's not fucking good enough.
I agree.
No, but you're dividing the conversation we're having. Because he is saying that you agree that people that are elected, you have a decision as, let's say, everybody is an informed voter, everybody's smart,
which
everybody no
it's
more
assuming.
Complicated than that.
Is it?
We're saying
I'm
that
now.
Everybody is smart in voting. So you have a decision making hypothetically, because that's not true.
It has to be. Like there's no fucking way that's
no, but you have a decision making over that person's decisions, what they do.
Okay.
The Board of Health, we don't. It doesn't matter if every person is the smartest person voter in the world.
Listen, dude, I get that. I 100% understand what the fuck you're saying. I'm just saying that hypothetical isn't fucking reality. Like, if that was a hypothetical, I'm 100% on board. These motherfuckers shouldn't make it. But that does not fucking exist right now.
Doesn't exist.
But so the problem.
But we can't change anything. So the only thing we can change is what we vote for. So we have a change on that.
Realistically, the issue is, okay, there are stupid people out there.
We're shocked.
Right.
There's stupid people sitting here.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're also shocked.
So at what point do you feel comfortable telling what stupid people should be doing?
So that's actually the real question.
Then that exactly.
Sure.
At what point do you personally feel like you have the right and authority to tell a stupid person what to do with their life?
That's a great question. We could have an entire episode on that.
I mean, and that's
and this is. I understand. I get it. So this is going to be a shocker to everybody. But first of all, I would want an operating definition of what is stupid.
Well, you're the one.
Let me start. Let me fucking start there first.
Well, you put the definition up because you're the one that you're the first to call people stupid. So go ahead.
I think anybody that doesn't. There's a lot of water in this.
Why do you have so much water in here?
Left over from your party.
Oh, okay. I think there's a lot of things you could put on this umbrella. One of the few things that you could put on there is if you are making decisions without thoughtful discourse with the opposite side, whoever that may be, you have no.
So everybody in Washington that works for every elected official in Washington is stupid. Check.
I don't agree with that because
most.
Not even most, because a lot of these folks have lunch with one another. Like it's only when the cameras are on that they act like they hate each other.
Right.
So like at the end of the day, it's really not any of them.
Right.
because really it's a dog and pony show for us, the voters.
Right. I agree.
So I think anybody that watches or consumes any sort of primary news source without having an alternative viewpoint, those people are stupid. Like if you're primarily interested in CNN and you don't look at Fox News, you're an idiot.
What if you don't look at either one of them?
And where do you get your news at?
From
Facebook.
Seth.
From then I mean I got nothing for you. I think those are. I mean, you know, like I think that's a fair, just initial parameters of you're an idiot and
Okay.
and you're uninformed of what you're doing and you're following some bullshit gut that you know should not be.
Do you, as an individual, feel comfortable telling them what to do with their lives?
No, I don't. But I am very comfortable telling them that their vote is based on misinformed intentions.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very.
All right. I'm comfortable saying that too because I've made very publicly known through the show is that we need to do better as voters. I'm more angry at voters than I am at politicians right now.
I'm with you. Like I've been there for a while.
Right. And but what I'm trying to get at here is that
Right.
at what point of stupid do you feel like you personally have the right to tell them how to live their lives?
Well, I never said that I felt comfortable.
I didn't. I'm just saying.
Right. I'm just trying to be clear. I never felt comfortable. I don't feel comfortable telling them how they should live their lives. I will say that at the end of the day, if they're voting at all, period, I think it is a disgrace to the act of voting, to democracy, and to the United States as a whole if you're not engaged in this in any sort of public discourse at all. And so it's a disgrace, period. People that have died in wars, that have been in military and whatever, if you are making these decisions without having very honest, tough conversations with friends or enemies, you have no business being a part of this conversation.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
Like, period.
Right.
And so that's my concern about. Yes, they have sort of accountability or responsibility to people that vote them in office, but you know we have to do better as a public. I mean, we're barely
again. I'm agree with you on that.
I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying
what I'm trying to get at least is that whomever Martha, what's her name?
Stewart.
No, she's the
Blackburn.
Dr.
Marsha.
Martha something. She's the
Buchanan.
Yeah, Martha Buchanan, who is she's the head of the Board of Health or the Knox County Health Department. I don't remember what her exact title is.
Okay.
If I asked her the same question I just asked you, at what point do you feel like personally you have the authority to tell somebody else what to do with their life?
I've never said that I was comfortable with that at all.
Again, my point being is that for good or for bad, Mayor Kane was elected. For good or for bad, Mayor Kincannon was elected. For good or for bad, all these different county commissioners, all these different elected bodies were. And for good or for bad of educated voters and whatnot, they were elected given the authority to make the decision for you or me constituent. Buchanan was not.
I don't know. I mean, what's your point? I mean, we have a representative democracy. It's not a full democracy.
Right.
So, like,
My point is that I didn't elect Dr. Buchanan to make
you may
decisions.
not have elected any of them if you didn't vote for him.
Correct. But my point is that nobody voted for her. And at what point does she feel comfortable with the decision to make? Where does she get the?
I understand what you're trying to get at here, but I think this we've gotten to a point where I feel like it's philosophical masturbation. If you have elected a certain group of individuals in office and those individuals have created something else that is non-electable, I mean that's still on you.
I agree, and
So,
it's on her parents probably more than anything
or
because they were the
or
one.
whatever. Like
It's it's a time span thing,
right,
but yeah,
I understand. But that's the point. Is that you know, I think that the one thing that we have to, I think the one thing we do agree on is that we have to figure out a way to. Again, we've said this is the theme of the show. We have to figure out a way to engage the public, and when they seem they're not interested, we have to continue to fucking engage the public.
right.
And it doesn't really matter whether or not, to me, it doesn't. Like lowercase m matter. It doesn't really matter to me whether or not these folks are elected. What matters to me is whether or not our community is engaged and understands what the fuck is going on. Like, that's what matters to me.
Okay.
Like, side note, I don't know what sort of bird flew in my head about this, but I've been meaning to bring this up. Been trying to buy a house here lately. I was with my realtor, I don't know, a month ago. We were leaving. We were looking at a house. It was just myself and the realtor. We were leaving the house, coming down the driveway. This individual pulls up in a car, circles around, rolls down the window. He says, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you guys. Real quick question. How many folks live here?" We're like, there's nobody lives here. We were just viewing the house. Really sorry to bother you. I'm just with the census. My realtor says, I don't believe in the census. And I look at my realtor like, I've done a really poor job of deciding who my realtor is. What do you mean you don't believe in the census? What the fuck does that even mean? Like, you don't believe in the census?
What was the answer?
There wasn't an answer.
You don't believe in math?
Right, and I'm just like, this must be some sort of like far right-wing bullshit about like, you cluster folks together.
Oh, see, I was thinking the other way.
What do you mean? Oh no, she carries a gun with her everywhere, and
I was just like, my thought was like,
I don't believe in the census.
What does that mean?
You're trying to start an argument?
No, I'm just saying.
I'll take the bait. Let's go.
Is that what she said to this lady?
No, that's what this lady said to this guy who was a part of the census.
And she said, I don't believe in the census.
That's what she said. And then I was confused by what the statement meant. Like, what does that mean? You don't believe in it? Like, you think it's an imagination? Like, he's getting paid. He's in a car. He's right there. Like, what does that mean that you don't believe in it?
I don't think it does anything.
What is that? Elaborate.
No, wait until June of 2021 when they redistrict everything, and all this knowledge that I've learned about my districts and how fucking stupid it is that the district lines that they draw and how they work.
Thank you.
Wait till 2021 and they redistrict everything and tell me you don't believe in the census.
Thank you for foreshadowing what I was about to
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I guess it doesn't mean that the actual census and they actually count people or anything. They just use it as an excuse.
The census of how many people actually live here and their ages, that's the only question they should ask.
What else is on there? I don't remember. I forgot.
How much you make? I mean, your race.
Right, but I put in how much I made.
But that's...
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure the rest of them were optional.
Are you talking about the person that comes to your door and knocks on your door and asks you that? Because that's
I filled out my mail-in version. I didn't...
No, I did it online. It took me 5 minutes. It was easy as shit.
I think we're missing the point here.
I'm just pointing. What's the point of the census? To rezone.
The real point of the census is for gerrymandering. That's the real point of the census.
What do you mean by gerrymandering?
So
redistrict to redistrict to keep McConnell in Kentucky until he fucking dies.
Correct.
Is to redistrict to make sure. Oh, okay. Well, I have 10 voters.
Let's say that everybody in this house and 5 miles west of here all vote for liberals. This house and over. So the districting happens where, let's say that Mitch McConnell or John Smith or myself or him, we draw the line for this district now stops at this house and goes that way.
Right. It's just look at the district. Look at your own. Yeah. I mean, your house is
safe.
Is pretty safe where it sits for a number of reasons.
Safe from what?
You're not going to get redistricted.
Right.
Because your district is already red enough. If
the national census is to redistrict calls,
the state census.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm talking about the.
It all goes on at the same time.
Yes.
All the data.
100%.
All the data is shared with all the different animals.
So what's the point of redistricting?
So people that are in office stay in office, and that if there's like a new influx of conservative potential votes.
So it's bullshit. You agree with
yes,
me?
I think it's bullshit.
No, the census isn't bullshit. The gerrymandering
is bullshit. Yes.
It is important to know how many people live in a place. It is important to know for a number of reasons.
100%.
As much as I don't
so
like...
you're saying that the census is just for gerrymandering?
It's
a lot of it, yes.
So this bullshit then?
There's
bullshit. There's a lot more that goes into it. I mean, if you've got a whole street of people that
Wait, who's talking right now?
If you got a whole street of people that don't fill out their census, and you've got an area that requests, roads to be built, and they're like, no, fucking 2 people live on that street. Like, we're not about to repave that road.
That's also true, yeah.
Because it also allocates federal
funding on all levels.
Funds that go
all levels
to that district itself.
So going back to the original point, the reason why I was taken back is I was just like, I don't believe in the census. That statement itself makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. You don't believe in it. What don't you believe in it? He's fucking here. He's not a unicorn. Like, what do you mean you don't believe in it?
I don't.
The motherfucker is right there.
I mean, it would be a good.
It's not that I don't believe in it.
It would be a good scam.
I mean, that's not a thing, but I don't understand the point of the census. How about that?
Well, that's the point. The point is to make sure that the people that are in office stay in office, for one, and for two, going back to what Sam said, the amount of money that you could potentially get in your particular area is based on whether or not these people end up filling out the census data. So, like, you might be able to get...
So, if everyone in my census in my area fills out the census data, the pothole in my road will be fixed.
Potentially.
Bullshit.
I mean, it's not bullshit, but I mean, you could say that if you want to.
It is bullshit.
Okay, you're wrong, but you could say that if you want to.
They're not being like, let's allocate more road work because we have...
Absolutely. If you're in Hardin Valley right now,
Yeah, I was about to say, you look at the nice neighborhoods. The roads are fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it's not because...
And is that because there's more people that live there?
No, because there's more influential people that live there.
no.
No.
There's more tax money that's there. It's not influence. It's there's more tax money there.
There's more tax money there because part of the census asks about.
No, it's not about
how
income.
much you make.
No, it's
I
not
think
about
you've
income
got
at
more
all.
important people that can make a bigger stink.
No, it's not about more important people that make it stink. It's that they already know what your property value is because they put that in there and you're taxed on that for your property tax. And so it's like, oh, we have this neighborhood of $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 houses, and those people are pitching to fit. Well, they pitch in more money in the fucking tax bracket.
So it doesn't matter that I fill out the census.
No, you can if you want to leave the fucking income out because you don't want them to know how much money you make. Fine.
So the census does not matter on my roads.
Yes, it absolutely does. That's what we just said.
No, you just said it doesn't. It has to do with property value.
Because the property value of your neighbor is the property value of your neighborhood is going to answer the.
They don't care about your income is at the end of the day.
So they care about our property value.
That's a lot of it. Yes, absolutely.
Because
we're talking about census.
Yes.
And now we're talking about property value.
Which is the part of the census.
Because census asked me about what my property value is.
No, but they already know the answer to that.
Yeah, they know
So
what zip
then
code you're in.
why are they coming by and asking me?
Because they don't know if you live there or not.
So if I live there, that changes my property value?
No, if you live there, you know that somebody's actually allocating that particular space. Like
So-
if 37919 zip code is occupied by 0 people,
Like
They don't need
it's
to-
literally
they-
a federal law
Yeah.
that they're supposed to count and make the effort to count everyone that's living in the United States.
right?
I understand that, but
Citizen
what
or
is
not.
the point?
So I was trying to explain that. So in this particular zip code 37919, if you have a census and nobody says that they live here, why would you allocate any money to this area?
Right,
for
how much
fixing
money does the school get?
potholes or
That's
schools
No,
or anything?
Seth just
But
said
that's the
if
whole
you're
point of
Hardin
Congress.
Valley and you have $400,000 homes, you're going to get more road value or
You
road
are.
fix versus somebody that lives in an area that has $100,000 homes.
Yeah, but
So then why does the census matter to that area?
I mean, kind of going back a little bit of gerrymandering, I mean, as horrible as it is, but that's also what allocates seats in Congress, is off of population.
the House.
Sorry, and the House side of the Congress,
Right.
the House of Representatives, because they represent the population.
This many people.
So you would get
So,
more representatives if you had an influx of population,
So
hypothetically.
it only has to do with the representative votes.
And, well, I'm pretty sure we just listed like 6 things off, but
No, you guys listed that
For us
says
to also be able to know how many people are in the fucking United States.
yeah, but you guys said you guys went back and
Here's
forth.
a better question. Why are you opposing this?
I'm not
here's a better-
opposing.
No,
I filled it
he's-
out online and did all that shit.
Okay.
But what I did it because they said I had to.
You should. Like,
But it's fucking bullshit.
why is it bullshit?
I believed in
Because
UNIFOs
it
because
doesn't
I had
do.
to.
It doesn't do anything.
no, if you
Like you guys said, if you live in an area that your houses are $400,000
If you wanna argue-
versus $200,000 where I live, the people with $400,000 houses are going to get better roads, better access than the people with $200,000 houses. Doesn't matter if there's 15 people in my house and there's one person, the person with $400,000 house. They're going to cater to those people because they get more
but
tax
that's not.
dollars.
But that's not true either. Because you go downtown, and you go into like a
Yeah, go downtown. Look at those fucking roads. They're shittier than if you go out
Okay,
in
but
Farragut.
you go into a high volume, like high rise apartment complex or something like that, and they're going to change the bus routes for it because the CAT system is a county subsidized business, and they're gonna change the bus routes to help have access.
I don't care about.
That's
bus
fine
routes.
that you don't
Get
fucking
rid
care.
Of fucking bus routes.
But it's not about you, buddy. It's not you personally. It's all of us.
Yeah.
The hell's wrong with buses?
There are no bus routes in halls because people in halls have money.
Because most people don't use it.
Exactly.
I mean, we can argue about the efficacy of the bus system, and that's a whole separate conversation.
Now,
But-
if we
What
go
happened to you?
if we go on CES route
Like,
and
I'm
do
gone for like
a
8
mass
fucking
transit and a subway system,
I haven't even
I'll
done that on the
use
show
it.
yet. I've not even done that on the show yet, and that is one of my major plans.
I would love it.
First, we have to hit Metro. Once we get Metro, then I'll
I
kick
think
that
20
one.
years ago, they had a 5 counties, 1 vision where they were talking about mass transit systems that was going from like Knoxville to Sevierville, Knoxville to Asheville, Knoxville to Chattanooga.
I mean, realistically, the COVID system, the post-COVID system throws a lot of that shit out the window. Because you're gonna have, realistically, long term, I think a lot of people aren't going back to their office.
Bus system is welfare.
That's only welfare in Knoxville.
No,
It's-
there's a lot of welfare in Knoxville, but the
That's
bus
not-
system
that's not what I'm
is
saying.
a welfare
That's
system.
not what I'm saying. You go to larger cities, that's not true.
No, absolutely.
What does that mean?
No, normal
Bus systems,
regular
yes.
people that have
Subway,
jobs.
no.
Regular people that have
Huh?
jobs use buses and subways and trains and whatever else is available.
Subways, yes.
In large cities?
Yes.
What are you saying? I just want to make sure what you're saying before I go down a fucking tirade.
What
What are you saying?
You got
Large
just do it.
cities,
Large cities use any sort of mass transportation, period.
Subways.
And
Only-
trains
only gets you- there's
and
only so many-
buses
there's
and
only so many
everything.
Yeah, there's only so many
Atlanta,
subway
Chicago.
stops.
I was just in New York City. Like, that is
Yeah,
not true.
Yeah, okay, you were in New York City, so
Yeah,
if you get on a subway,
I did.
way different than if you get on a bus.
It's not. It
Yeah,
wasn't.
it is.
I was there during COVID. That's not true.
No, you're wrong.
I mean, a subway car is essentially just
Okay.
like
I've been
or a
there.
subway's just like
I'm
5
glad
buses
you've been there.
like
So have
tied
I. I'm
together.
just saying, like,
They're just going underground.
Like, in one seat, there's a dude in a suit with a briefcase. There's a dude
On the subway.
Yeah, and on the bus.
No, it's not so much bus.
So I'm making this up.
Yes.
You're making it up.
Okay, well, I'm making it up.
You are a
It's
fucking
a fabrication.
liar.
there's only so many subway stops in a city.
So if we
That's
go
a
if we
pretty
go
large
back in time in
infrastructure.
conversation,
Why are we
Buses-
arguing against
buses
this?
can get
Like,
you
I
to
gave
more
empirical
direct
data.
places.
He's not. He's like I gave
Well,
empirical
no.
data. He's not agreeing with it.
we're
Let's
going
move
back to
on.
the original. So the census is bullshit. Check. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like the only thing that like I'm trying to wrap my head around why your realtor said that. And the only thing that I can think of is that there's some scam going on right now, which makes sense. Like it's a totally viable scam that there are unscrupulous people going around pretending to be census agents.
He had a Knox County logo.
I'm just saying that's the best.
I just
that's
want
the
to
best.
throw that out there
Right.
as a kind reminder. Now you could
I'm
create
just-
I
that if
don't
you wanted
believe
to.
that.
Right, I'm just
You're
throwing
a
out the
liar.
idea. I'm trying out the idea of like I'm trying
I understand.
my best to give the realtor the benefit of the doubt that to make some logical reason.
I'm
for
happy
it.
for you to do
and
that.
that's the
Let
only
me
one
tell you,
I can
I
think
have
of.
spent 6 months with
You
this
know,
lady.
you know how much it costs to put a Knox County logo on your car?
Probably not that much.
Not much.
How many do you have in yours?
One.
Just one?
Just on the left side, because that's how I pull up to the curb with the left side.
Interestingly enough, the passenger side was the window that rolled down on this person, so I wouldn't have seen it if it was just on the left.
And they probably were like, I'm going to pull on the right side then.
No,
They stopped at the end of the street and saw what was going on and flipped aside. I mean, I'm just
it's
saying.
a
Like,
larger point is what I'm trying to
Right.
make here is that like we're really pushing back on whether or not we fill out fucking census numbers here. Like that's really where we are in a society. Like we see here on one hand we say we should have intelligent discourse, on the other hand we're saying we don't fucking believe in the census. Like that's fucking absurd.
all right, so that just kicked into my head another devil's argument. at
Devil's
best.
argument. Advocate.
Whatever. Fuck.
Want another beer?
Yeah, I do. So I can make
Damn,
up.
I
So
miss
I can
this,
miss.
man.
So I
you
can.
really out of that
I
beer
can
right
misuse cliche. Yeah.
God damn.
There's nothing in it. It's fucking juice. Anyway,
Why'd you buy it then?
because they're delicious.
Oh, they're delicious. Juice, man.
I mean, whatever.
Go ahead.
You're drinking
No,
grape
he doesn't
juice.
need
fuck
one.
him.
You just got him one. You just got him a beer. He doesn't
I
need
agree.
one.
I know, but you were talking the whole fucking time, so I was drinking the whole fucking time. Usually I'm talking the whole time, so I drink
Right there in
slower.
the corner. Yeah, that's
No,
what
see,
he wants.
like
He wants
this one
one.
and
Yeah,
that
give me
one.
that.
No, he
I'll
wants
take
that
No,
Malibu.
this one and that one are mine.
He wants that stupid Malibu.
Anyway, unless it's some again, I'm trying to make up excuses for that argument to make sense. And
I'm waiting.
there's not much.
I know.
The only other I can think of that would actually be reasonable is like I don't fill out the census because I don't want them to gerrymander anymore. But
they
that's
do.
bullshit, right? It's a shit argument. I'm just saying.
I don't know what the fuck you guys mean about gerrymandering.
You should look it up.
Jesus,
It's
right.
the most fucked up thing ever. Like it really is.
Hold
Man.
on.
Like
Wait, you guys,
Yeah,
how much time do we
okay,
have?
so
Finally
for the
grab
viewers, I'm
Wikipedia
gonna
says.
take a piss while he looks this up.
Right,
This is
it's-
actually kind of fucked up. Like gerrymandering.
Oh,
is
it
almost
absolutely is.
fucked up. Like it really is.
I mean, okay. So the simple one, the best version I've seen is it's like, you take
It's one word? I didn't know that.
if you take 15 dots, right? If you take 15 dots and you have 10 red ones and 5 blue ones, you could circle those 15 dots in different ways. Like let's say you have 4 districts in those 15 dots, and you can circle those in different ways where all 15 of those dots are going to come out as red districts. Or you could circle in a way that it's going to be more representative realistically, where it's 3 red districts and 1 blue district. So you, depending on how you, but that's the best. I mean, I'm trying to do a visual example audibly, but the best example I've seen is you take a certain number of dots and you line them up. You line them up in 15 dots would be a 3x5 square. Well, not square, but a 3x5 rectangle. And circle those dots in groups of 5. So you'd have 3 groups of 5. You can do that in one way where it would be 2 red groups and 1 blue group, or you can do that in another way where it's 3 red groups, majority red groups. That is essentially gerrymandering to a T. Is that a decent trying to make a visual audible? Is that fairly correct?
Yeah, that was an okay version.
I mean, that's the best I can come up with. Yeah. Redraw
the first is there's what the fuck? Okay, so there's 5 districts and 5 are yellow. Or you can redraw it and there would be
This is painful.
3 green
I mean, this is
and 2 yellow.
In some ways, though, hold on. Let me get my
so.
headphones on.
Or
Go
you
to
do 5
www.fuckingbullshitgerrymandering.com
So
and see the visuals. But
But here's the interesting thing. This is an example of how we need to engage folks that don't understand some of these topics.
right,
So, like, we need to be patient about these sorts of things.
right.
Because, like, if he really doesn't understand it, then, like, I would want somebody to be patient to me about things that I don't fucking understand.
Right. I'm just like I mean I'm half laughing at myself because I'm trying to like he's literally looking at the picture that I was trying to audibly describe.
Correct.
And
I know. I watched it as I came back.
right,
from the
and it's
pisser.
exactly correct.
Yeah.
But it's it's hard to do
Yeah,
audibly
so if
versus
you
visually.
did it equal and you have 5 districts and it's straight line, you'd have 5 yellow.
Yeah.
But you could redraw it where there would be
And they do.
3 yellow and 2 green.
Correct.
That's what they're saying. Where they
And
can
right.
basically like make the lines however they want to suit
I mean,
a
here,
particular way that a block will
here's
that they know will vote.
If you want to look at it in reality, go to the Tennessee Secretary of State site and look at Knox County districts. And tell me there's any logic to the way the fucking lines are drawn. As he puts his phone down because he's not going to actually look at it.
I think he's trying to digest some of this.
I'm just saying, like, if you
I just never heard the word gerrymandering.
if you really want to see it in action, just go to the Secretary of State site for the state of Tennessee and look at it. I mean, it's the same thing we joke about where the city county line is. This apparently
Is that why they drew up the states the way they drew?
No.
No, it's a little different.
That's all on History Channel
I'm just kidding.
about that. It's pretty interesting how they drew up some of the states.
That's right. Fuck you, Georgia. We stole your river.
I was waiting for that.
Anyway, but I'm just saying, like, it's if you look at district maps, which nobody ever does, it's fucking obvious.
Yeah.
Like, it's painfully obvious because you can watch it. Because like
And yet-
17.
District 6 in the state Senate seat for Tennessee. The way it draws is it's almost all of 40 south of it's all of Knox County south of 40. It's almost the entirety of the district. It goes a little bit into the neighboring counties, but for the most part it's there. But then it jumps up into a chunk of downtown, or it jumps down around. I don't remember exactly how it jumps, but it jumps up to pull some of the downtown part into District 6, because most of District 6 is a red district. And so they pull a chunk of downtown into it so that now it is all a red district by voting rules, but a good chunk of the downtown area is more blue traditionally.
And again, why is it designed like that? Because Tennessee, by and large, is a red state. And who decides that? We do. So if you have red folks in office, they're going to design the states that are more advantageous for them.
Right. Go back to the Sam Brown interview. That's where we dig into that fucking map.
Right. There's also a lot of instances of, because one party screws over the other party in redistricting, because we only do the census every 8 years.
10.
In fairness,
Do the
though,
census every 10 years.
we don't screw each other over here. It's typically the Republicans, because we're a red state. So I'm just being fair here.
Right. Whenever they redraw it, it's pretty much like a lot of it's like retribution is what it's been in the past number of years. They're like,
right.
Well, you fucked us last time. Now we're in power. So we're gonna fuck you on this. So it's just a constant battle back and forth of retribution as well, which only exacerbates the issue.
I don't disagree. We don't see it as much here because we don't have.
Right.
We're not anywhere near purple.
More
but again, realistically, you take Knox County, again, you give me shit all the time for bringing Todd up. Todd talks about Knox County and city, and city is very blue, county's very red. But if you take that, we acknowledge that city of Knoxville is a blue city in a red county of Knox County.
Right.
And you watch the lines for the different districts and how much of District 18 pokes into downtown but only takes a chunk.
Sure.
District 89 pokes into downtown but only a chunk.
Sure.
And so when you get into House of Representatives seats, we have all these Republican representatives,
right,
because the population of the county is more red, and so they drew the lines to take chunks out of the city, which is blue.
That's not an accident.
No, it's absolutely on purpose.
Right.
And that is
which is even more interesting when you think about what happened in 2018 when the Democrats picked up so many seats in the House. I mean, it's interesting that happened even though all of that was already set in place.
Right.
I mean, they had both chambers of Congress.
Right.
And still lost the House.
Right. But it's, yes, I agree. But again, so the gerrymandering is a huge issue,
right?
And
totally
again, so all right, we have absolutely pinpointed a problem. What is our solution? We can close on this. We're getting to the end.
Close on this, as in we're going to find the solution, or we're going to foreshadow a potential new.
We're going to figure this out.
We're going to talk about some solutions, see if we can come up with the best one, and we'll call it a night.
There's no solutions.
In some ways, if we go back to the elected officials making decisions sort of phenomenon, I don't.
It's hard to find truly independent people. I'd almost say some kind of independent.
Yeah.
We have election commissions that are supposed to be nonpartisan.
To me, it's to me a potential solution would be what are some things that we have districts for that make sense? What are things that we draw lines around that make sense?
Well, I think we have to have artificial lines. Period.
I agree. No, absolutely right.
Okay.
But what are some things locally that we draw lines around that make sense? Not perfectly, but close to.
Do you have answers to this question?
I do have it. Right. I do.
Well, then
have
answer the question, then I'll tell you if I agree.
I think school districting is built because we have a population in an area and a school that can handle so many kids, right? And so there are cases where you have a school that's closer that somehow you're district to another school, but it's because the closer school is a smaller school and there's one that's a little further away that's bigger, and so you got that these kind of things happen as things adjust. But for the most part, the school districting is by pure population.
Right, but school districts and whether or not the district in the House is following the same thing is not at all correlating. So like you're gonna have to find a
Right.
difference. You're gonna have to find something different.
I'm just saying that's the one that's the premise at least being that we have a central thing being the school that the population feeds into. So what is a different central thing that we can feed into, and
So
it's the population that's closest to draw the circle around that fills the population.
Yeah,
Well,
sure,
it,
but that
it should be. I mean, if you're saying that the population of school and children and all that kind of stuff, so why do you not have those lines drawn the same?
I mean, that's kind of what I'm inferring. But it's not, and again, there are places where you have a school that the majority of the population around it doesn't have school age kids, so it could be a ton of people in that area, but only a handful of kids.
That's why you need the census.
That is part of why you need the census. Yes,
true.
I like how you argue against yourself. That's hilarious.
I think he meant that as sarcasm. Actually.
Still argues against himself. I find it humorous.
Right. So taking a step back for just a second, I also want to appreciate that Max is an intelligent individual. It pains me to say that.
He disagrees.
Yes, I disagree.
But like, I would argue even again, it pains me to say this. I would argue that Max is on the higher end of intellectual levels here in the county, and yet that as it is, he wasn't aware of gerrymandering as a thing. So if we're gonna talk about whether or not we need to do a better job in our communities about understanding some of these topics, holy shit. Did we learn anything in high school here in Knox County?
No.
No, I mean, I'm serious.
I'm agreeing.
I went to school in Colorado.
Sure, thank you. See, that's why he's in the top end of that. But that's the point is that we're making these decisions and we don't fully understand what the fuck we're talking about.
So shit. So are you inferring that there's an education problem?
Yeah.
So the state is educating intentionally to keep us stupid?
Only in Colorado.
You're really good about putting words in my mouth.
I'm
No, I didn't
it was
say
a
that
question. It wasn't.
Oh, the answer.
Are
was,
you?
So no. Is that the question?
I mean, as far as civics are concerned, I mean, is that not what you're saying? Is that we are not educated to understand this on purpose?
No, I'm saying that we.
I'm too drunk to trap you right now. Don't give me that
You
shit.
can't trap me. You can't. It's the rhetoric involved in the question that's stated is really what. I'll answer the question in a second. So the rhetoric involved is that I'm trying to say that
It's more complicated than that.
I don't think that in this particular instance. I don't think that.
Hold on, time out. Real quick, we need to put this on the calendar. Just to make sure we all heard this correctly. This one time, it wasn't more complicated than that. Go ahead.
Right. What I'm saying is that we have a tendency to gloss over some of these issues and not make them more important than what they should be. And I'm not saying that there's a larger wizard that's behind the curtain that's making these things happen. I'm saying that for the 900th time, it is easier to say either or, A versus B, than it is for anything else. And if there's a good and an evil and there's a binary opposite involved, that's all that matters. And if you don't understand some of these more complicated things, then you don't have to worry about anything except for the rhetoric that's on the television at night. When you have already worked a long shift where you're not getting paid enough at all, and you may have a really good friend of yours that's making more money by not working at all. And all
I
you
don't
want
work long shifts, but yeah.
Right. And all you want to do is just relax with your family. The only thing you have time dedicated for is rhetoric. You don't know it's rhetoric. You assume it's facts, but it's rhetoric.
Right.
And some of these more complicated issues that really aren't complicated, you just want to take the time to understand it. That people don't want to do that for.
Right.
This is where we are.
Right. I agree with you. I mean, I fully do. And I mean, like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's the one thing that's the funniest to me about the 6 months or whatever we've been doing this thing and actually talking to people is that it's somewhat complicated, but it's really not that complicated. It's not that hard. It's really not that. I mean, I'm not the brightest in the room here for sure, but it's like I can see what's going on, It's not super hard,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And but the problem is the sad truth is that somehow we are the ones that are actually talking about it in this way. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's others out there.
There's
but
not.
the audience, the if there is, they don't have a big enough audience for people to notice that, you know, we don't know what they're supposed to be doing. We don't know what their job actually is. I really think, like, we joked about this, but we've joked about it before. Like, I really do think we should do a specifically, like, intentionally civics set of shows where we go and we bring different people in, and we just talk about, like, a specific subset of things that this is how civics works. And I think it would
don't know if I've ever heard you say anything smarter before in your life.
FEMA sucks. Anyway,
FEMA sucks.
I just wanted to ruin the moment. Anyway,
Check.
I'm just saying, like, I like.
No, I'm a board.
Realistically, like, I don't.
I agree.
I have issues because we're like talking to Virginia Babb and talking to different people, but Virginia Babb specifically because she's on the school board and stuff like that, and trying to keep up with what the kids are doing in school, and it's like, you know, what are we teaching right now? Like, because the big one we talked about this a couple weeks ago is, what are the jobs? What are the actual fucking jobs 10 years from now? You know, we were talking with the kid. We were with the kids earlier tonight, and like, in 10 years I'm going to be this, and it's like, fuck yeah, you're going to be graduating high school in 10 years. Holy shit.
10 years your kids are graduating high school?
Yeah, and the oldest is, yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, but what are the jobs in 10 years? And that's the point. We had this conversation. What are the jobs in 10 years? Healthcare, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, that kind of shit, for sure. But I mean, like, where are we going as a species on this planet in 10 years? And then what is the educational? What is the governmental? I mean, what are all these things that we're moving that direction? And we're not talking about that. Like some of the green stuff we're talking about, and I'm gonna go here and there on particular issues of, like, some of the green agenda stuff going on. But as far as the grand scheme of things is, like, we're not talking about what the jobs are. The only person in any of this past year and a half, I guess, of primary and presidential race, the only person talking about it was Yang and that universal basic income thing, which I think is an interesting proposition. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, it's a thing, but I mean, I don't know what I don't know what it is, but
yeah. Let me just throw this out there real quick. So as I was driving from Portland, there was a period where I had all four windows down and the sunroof open, and the wind that was pushing me, not the vehicle, but me, was pushing me toward the actual steering wheel. And I looked to my left and right, and there are windmills everywhere collecting, you know, this energy.
right.
Listen, at the end of the day, we can push back against this, like, fossil fuels or a dinosaur, figuratively and literally, as much as we want to. But at some point, one of these assholes at one of these automobile companies or somewhere is going to say, this stuff is over. It's
Right,
Time,
so,
it's time to
agree, right.
it's time to invest in renewable energy.
Right, but the problem with that, and especially on your specific trip, is how long did it take you
to drive. I don't know, day and a half.
Okay, so how
2,700 miles.
How much more would it have taken you to stop to charge for?
That's the assumption, though, and there's a lot of research out here for this. The assumption is that this particular what you're implying is that the technology.
I mean, it's just that particular. I don't really care. It's not. I mean, I'm not arguing against it. I'm just.
I understand, but what you're saying, what you're implying, though, is the technology is not there. I would respond by saying the technology is there. It's just not there because it's not advantageous for it to be there yet. Because there's still money to be made in fossil fuels.
I agree with that too. Yeah, for sure.
So, like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of patents that are on the shelf at Ford and GM and whomever that will allow for these things to occur.
So,
we have put how many times have we put a person in space? Come on. And yet we can't figure out a way to make a car run on electricity. Come on, that's naive. I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying that anybody that would say otherwise is naive.
But here that one specifically to me brings up a subset of issues, and it goes against like it's one of the infighting things that within the Libertarian Party that it gets argued a lot is the intellectual property is a weird spot, and it just is. And like I agree that the electric car was, one of the first actual cars invented was an electric car, and and then Ford bought patents and all that kind of shit and shelved it because it was more advantageous to keep it on the side and blah blah blah. I agree with that premise, but the problem is like, yes, it is out there already, and had we started this in the 70s or 80s when we should have,
we tried to.
Right.
In fairness,
we would be miles ahead of where we are now in conversation.
If you go back to some of the primary stuff on YouTube, like you look at some like the Carter stuff, like we've been having conversations about renewable energy for a while, but there's been this, that's a fairy tale. That's not an accident.
Right.
That's not an accident.
I agree with you.
That we've been trying to do this for a while, and it's been pushed back forever.
Right. But there's a multitude of factors to that, to me at least.
I mean, there's a primary 2 or 3, and most of it is because you've got the fossil fuel industry is pushing against it.
Right. And I mean, our industry has the same animal in the 90s. This was around in the 90s.
I think this is a whole other show.
Right. We're late anyway. I was trying to beat the Randy Pace show.
What does that mean?
I was trying to make this the longest episode. So anyway, we have this. We're not quite to the longest episode we've ever done, but it sounds like we're done.
Better luck next time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we tried. I tried to make it most exciting that you're back finally. I mean, it's been a month and a week.
I think really what we're saying is that Max over here is tired. He wants to smoke.
He's done. He doesn't smoke. What are you talking about?
Oh.
Smoke something.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. 28 is in the books. The return of AC. I'm trying to figure out how to word that, get it more Star Wars-ish. I'm in the Star Wars mood. So, episode 28, we are almost in agreement. Almostinagreement@gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. No, not Instagram. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And almostinagreement@gmail.com. We're on most podcast providers. If we're not on the podcast provider you like, shoot me an email. We'll figure out how to get on there. I've got Kyle Ward and Courtney Durrett on Monday. I'm trying to sneak more in here. Stay in touch. Talk to us. We like to interact on the different social media groups. And that's all we got for tonight, guys. It's time for bed.